Yo, it's Mr. Box Office, the main event, the professor of truth and entertainment, the ratings killer. And if you don't know, you need to get to know. And welcome to Box Office City with your host, Mr. Box Office himself. And it's a bit of a different show today because I've got a special guest, and you know him very, very well. The man, the moment, the man that's the best thing on YouTube so far. He's comes from Spurs Kings TV. You know him very, very well. His name is Ashmatic, and I'm just going to introduce him right now. Big up to you, Ashmatic. How you doing, mate?
Bro, love for having me on, man. Big
yeah.
yourself up. And finally, we're doing a stream together. And I'm loving the title, Ange long-term plan.
Yeah.
Ange ball or Ange out. That's what it feels like. I'm not going to lie to you. It feels like you got the two different sides. We're going to have a nice conversation, man. It's going to be nice and short. And we're just going to chop it up, man, like it says in the little tagline. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, you know. I want to talk about this. But yeah, how are you, man? How are you? Because I'm good. How are you?
Oh, you know what? This is good. This is good.
Different. It's different, isn't it?
This is definitely different because I'm normally on my own doing this, and it's just that. But it got to a point where we were talking so long on the phone. To be fair, we were talking so long on the phone. How many times? It just got to a point where we had to just do this on stream, innit? So that was the thing. So there's another person that will be on the show soon as well, but I'm not gonna spoil that one for anybody. That's it. But yeah, I mean, really, just on the show today, we're just gonna speak about, because we've been hearing a lot of murmurings from some of the Tottenham fans about Ange, about the whole what we did the last game when we lost, and we're going to talk about that. Ashmatic's got a few things that he's got to say, talked about off his chest, and he's going to pose to me as well. And we're going to also have people in the chat as well talking as well. So if you've got any questions in the chat, please put your questions in the question box, and then we'll get to them later on in the show. But let's get straight to it, because we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, like we always say, in every single time, and that's it. So let's get straight to it, Ashmatic. Now, there's a lot of people after that game against Brighton. There are people saying that we're going over the top. We're going for a meltdown. We're getting really upset. And why is everyone getting really upset and going out their mind at the moment, Ashmatic? What's your thoughts on that? Because I've got my thoughts, but I'll leave it with you, because you can put it more lightly than me. But let's just say that.
You know what it is? I think it's a rebuttal. So, meaning that they're like, people, calm down. You're going too far this way. Now, obviously, I've always said some fans that are being ultra positive are going too far the other way, because the youngsters were coming in and they're scoring the transfer window, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I'm like, whoa. Let's bring it in. Do you know what I mean? 45 minutes of some of the worst football we've seen in a long time has made people react to this, because it's off the back of bad results that happened in those last 10 to 15 games. So that energy is not coming out of nowhere, do you understand? And where people's trust, it's up and down. The thing is, it's been in our DNA for a while now, and we shouldn't really, it's really hard to say that. It's really hard to say it out loud, because we've gone to places where we're leading, and then all of a sudden we're getting nicknamed bottle jobs. Do you know what I'm saying? And that, for me, was the biggest bottle that I've seen in a long time. So I think that's why people got so rattled. If we weren't 2-0 up and having control, and also the expectation as well, because going into that game, Brighton, we just dominated Man United. We had a really strong performance away at Old Trafford that we don't normally do. Do you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, we're going into Brighton with the expectation that, it's going to be 6 wins out of 6, because we just went on a run. So because our expectation went up here and everyone disrespected Brighton, forgetting how good Brighton actually are, And if you want to compare wingers for wingers, you have to put respect on Brighton's name. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, when that happens and we were 2-0 up, everyone's like, oh, it's a case of how many, right? Do you know what I mean? And it was completely the opposite. And it kind of brought up old insecurities, and questions came up of like, where are the leaders? Who's the captain? Why the players down tools in? Where's the strong mentality? Do you know what I mean? Where's the leaders on the pitch? So those type of things started cropping up again, and people were like, is it the players or is it the manager? Do you know what I mean? And when we go through these type of losses, we always need someone to point the finger at. Do you know what I mean? And if you are on Ange's side, you'd point at the players. But if you're on the players' side, you point at Ange. And that's why I feel, in my opinion, the fan base is so split and so divided.
I mean that kind of, I think that's really good summed up really for me. But for me, there's no overreaction. I think everyone should know. I mean, that was a great explanation, Ashmatic. I can see where you're coming from, definitely, 100%. But for me, and I don't think this is any spoiler for anybody. I've told since June. I've told people since June. It's funny now. It's funny because now people are jumping on the bandwagon. It's cool now to say, "Oh, we don't like Ange. You can criticize him now." It's very cool now because it weren't cool when he started, wasn't it? It wasn't cool, and you know that at Smack very, very well because you know how many people were having a guy at Mr. Box Office didn't want them on the streams. Mr. Box Office didn't want him at all. Didn't want to know them. Didn't want to know him. You know what I mean? Oh, he's an evil guy and all this. Oh, he shouts too much and all that. But most of the stuff I've said in June and over the year last year, now people are coming up and saying it now. And that's it. I said I would give it time because I need to see how he is. You can see now he talks too much. That's the first thing, right? You can see the squad that he's accumulated isn't good enough at the moment. And that you saw that this season, start of this season, especially against Leicester, Newcastle, and Arsenal. You can see there's no composure in the team. You can see there's only a handful, maybe even just 2 or 3 that have got arrogance and swag about them. They need confidence, and that's why we got through those 6 games because we were gaining confidence. And then you saw what happened when things go wrong. It went just like that against Brighton. And the worst thing about this is, which I said on another channel instead of Mr. Box Office TV, my last video, and go and like and subscribe that one, is that leadership, which has been a massive problem. So for me, the people that keep on saying that we're going over the top, you obviously haven't been watching Mr. Box Office TV, and you haven't been watching certain people like my boy Sava, my boy Dan. I'm not gonna break. I'm gonna break the fourth wall. Yeah, sorry, I'll break the fourth wall because I'm not here to beat around the bush, like I say. You know what I mean? I'll give praise when it's praise is due. Dan, the Hotspur Hood, and Stelios, and Tottenham away, and there's others as well that I might not have mentioned as well. So there are people out there that have seen this as well. So I think for me, it's silly to start saying we're going over the top. It's just because it's just agendas because they want to keep their manager happy, and that's it. And that's all I've got to say.
Just to add on to that, yeah. And I am going to put another point towards you to answer. But
yeah,
another point I'm going to say is, if people think that you have an agenda or you guys have an agendas, they haven't been listening to the context. Because for some people, they're watching the football and it's not making sense. It's not making, there's no logic behind it. It feels a bit too gun-ho-ish, and rivals are saying it. Like you're hearing it from neutrals, pundits, football pundits, and the one thing they're saying is we need a bit of an adaptation. So when you guys are coming out and you're saying, look, I'm not happy, or maybe it's the phrase on term of words people don't like and they're getting slightly rattled by it. But you've got concerns, and it's genuine, because I'm hearing people that were positive about Ange. I was on a stream last night, bro, and it was an emergency Spurs stream, and I felt like I was the only one saying, lads, allow Ange in it. Do you know what I'm saying? But all them man that were Ange in, all of a sudden now, it's the manager. What's going on here? Blah 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't Dan, it wasn't Stel, it wasn't yourself, and it weren't Sava. Do you know what I'm saying? So now ordinary folk are starting to ask questions. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But because obviously you guys have been painted in that brush and you voiced your concerns from earlier, and it was legitimate concerns, all of a sudden, as soon as you say something else now, it's like, and then it feels like on the other side, it's point scoring, because, for example, if Ange does something well and we went on a run of 4 or 5 games, where's the Ange out now? Where's the Ange out now? Where's the Ange doubters? Do you know what I mean? And it almost felt like point scoring, instead of thinking, you know what, there might be games where we might have tougher tests and maybe we'll learn something then. Do you know what I mean? Because let's face it, the last few games where we're getting points from, 2 of them were Europa Cup games with the low-level opposition, and one was Coventry from League One. Do you know what I'm saying? And then the other 2 were teams, what would say mid-table. Manchester United, they're not the top half at the moment. They're in the mid-table. And so are Brentford. They're not exactly like top half. Like, they're not a traditional top 6 team. So some people would say you expect to beat those teams off of form, innit? Maybe not Brentford, but Manchester United, they went on form. So it's just an honest conversation. It's not, but the other thing I would say is, like, for me, I wouldn't put it, and I was saying to the boys that I was on the show on from last night, I said, look, I wouldn't put it all on Ange for that Brighton loss. Yes, he needs to take some blame for it, but I just felt like the players, in my opinion, what they did in the first half, they stopped doing in the second half. In the first half, they were very aggressive. The high line was highlining, you know what I'm saying? The front players were pressing effectively, and then that allowed the team to push up the pitch. All of a sudden, we dropped off a couple yards. We made a mistake, first of all, where they scored instantly. So within the 3 minutes, we're on the back foot. And then I remember under Conte and Mourinho, we always used to drop back. And Conte was like, I'm not telling them to drop back. They're doing it by themselves. And it felt like when Brighton scored, instead of doing what we normally do, high pressing the high line or whatever, we dropped off a couple of yards and we invited them onto us. And then they became a lot more aggressive and we stopped doing what we were meant to be doing. And I think that's why Ange was pissed off. But, and this is my caveat here to it, and I have to agree with you somewhat. If Ange sees that happening, right, Ange has to be accountable now and say, look, we're not pressing no more. I need to change something in that midfield dynamic because we're being overrun in that midfield, or the channels were being exposed. So I need to I need to pull one of them over. And you know, like Alex Ferguson used to do this thing where he used to be like this. He used to come up, he used to be sitting down, not do much. And if the boys weren't playing well, he used to jump off his seat and used to stand on standlines and be like this. And then all of a sudden, they look over and he fixed up straight away. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Ange's got to go mad and do Arteta, do all of this. He just needs to give him a stern look. They look over and just like sort it out. You know what I mean? Just give one instruction and manage the team, because you're a manager and you're a manager of men. So if they're not dealing with the game state, because I think when the momentum goes the other way, it's hard to manage. You might see what Emery would tell the goalkeeper, Martinez, to lay on the floor. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he gets the players in. Arteta, he's doing the dark arts as well. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying Ange do dark arts, but I'm just saying one small communication, please, or make a substitution. If you know our wingers are struggling, to pick up their wingers or their fullbacks, whatever, and we're getting overrun down the sides, then take one of those wingers off. If we're looking leggy up top, take one of the like some proactive. All right, midfielder. Madison's getting too beat easy. He's getting beat too easily because if you look at the profile of Madison defensively, if we lose the ball, he hasn't got the physicality to deal with the player. Like fantastic going forward, but on a transition, if Madison gets beat, all of a sudden there's an overload in midfield and Bentancur's by himself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my issue though is Ashmatic, I understand what people are saying that it's not all on Ange. The problem I have at the moment is the characters, right? I know people look at the profile of the player and their stats. I have to look at the actual character of the player and the player itself, right? You know me, I can't do stats, right? I have to see it for myself, right? Because stats can say one thing, but when you see it for yourself, and that's it. This is why I can't get excited. I'm not excited about this team. I'm not. Nothing's blowing my mind off this team. You see what I'm saying, right? When it was like Martin Yole, Harry Redknapp, even like Ramos, for goodness sake, right? Even sometimes like Glenn Hoddle. I know we're going back. I was getting off my seat because there were certain players that can get me off my seat, and the game that we're playing was getting off my seat. I feel I'm struggling at the moment. I'm really struggling at the moment. The game against Brighton, the first half, I agree with you. It was very, very good. It was very, very good because I loved the movement of the team. I really did like the movement. And that's why I said, I think actually Timo Werner actually played very well because he done his job. You see what I'm saying? He did his job because he made runs to open up space for the other players. Now, I don't like, you know why, what I think of Timo Werner. I say he's below average Shane Long for a reason. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not, I don't rate the guy whatsoever. But there comes a point where you're sitting there thinking, Ange, you picked this squad, and you said at the beginning of the season, the Tottenham team said at the beginning of the season, they said this squad is good enough for the season. It's good enough to start the season with Archie Gray, Bergvall, and Alderbert, and all these players, right? And he don't even use them. He don't even use them. You see what I'm saying? Alderbert's injured, so that's impossible. But that's the crux of the problem. He's got the wrong characters, and that's it. And this is where I come back to what I say. That and the thing is, though, you got players that are experienced in there, but then I'm sitting there saying, why do I want Højbjerg back? And people criticize me for that because I sit there and say, well, the reason why I want Højbjerg back because he's a character that even though he's not great on the ball, he's fighting. He's fighting. You know what I mean? And no one's actually, and he's competing. He wants to compete. Even though you don't think he's good enough, he's still competing with Bentancur saying, mate, I don't want you taking my place, mate. I think I'm still better than you. You see what I'm saying? When I'm looking at Archie Gray and Bergvall, they're still doing their bloody apprenticeships. You see what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there saying, what is the point? And this is where my issue is with this at the moment. You see what I'm saying? And this is what my issue's been the last 6 games, even the Man United game. Because when you look at the Man United game, yes, it was great, but everything went right for us that game. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know if I've come on the back of what you just said, but
no, you did. But would you say like if we'd scored that goal early, like we did against Man United at Old Trafford, that game changes on its head straight away? We go 3-0 up. And the point I was trying to make before is, in terms of like, no, you're fine. Like in terms of intensity, I think the intensity dropped off. Now we could argue and say, look, can we sustain that level of press for 90 minutes? And I would say no. I would say 55 minutes, 60 minutes, and then it kind of drops off, you know? We will drop off after that. And so we need to learn, for me, either to make substitutions at that point where you bring on fresh legs to maintain intensity so you stay within the game. Or what you do is you just, like you say, put a foot on the ball and control the game and recycle possession.
But do we have a player to do that? Because the thing is, though, people will say Bentancur, but regardless what Bentancur is up and down. This is the reason why he got left by Juventus, because he's obviously, because Juventus don't let go of players for no reason. You don't do it. You see what I'm saying? So this is why I say, like, I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's that guy because he hasn't got. I don't think he pretends he's got that mentality. But for me, unfortunately, I don't see it. I think the player that they're looking to groom to do it, maybe use a different word, is Archie Gray. It's Archie Gray.
Do you criticize Ange for not playing him? Do you think Ange should start him more?
Archie Gray?
Archie, not starting, but do you think he should be coming on second half, getting his minutes in the Prem? Like, are you not happy that we don't see more of Archie Gray? Because we don't really know what he's like in his midfield position in the 6. Could he provide something a bit different to what Bentancur is doing? And could he give us more control? I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I don't know the answer, but would you want to see an Archie Gray playing the position? Because so far, we've seen him at right back, left back, and centre back, but we haven't seen him in the midfield. Or the only time we did see him in midfield slightly was pre-season, but it's different to when you're in a competitive game, in a live game. And most people would say, no, with the youngsters, you want to blood them in. But he played against Chelsea in the FA Cup. And some people were saying, no, that's when he came alive. He bossed that midfield. And that midfield of Chelsea had Enzo Fernandez, who's not that great in midfield, but he had Caicedo, and everyone rates Caicedo, and he was bossing him for days. So do you think Ange should give these players more of a chance to recycle the midfield? If you say Bentancur doesn't really put his foot on it and he's more of an 8, why not play Archie Gray there? Do you know what I mean?
I think he's got no choice because he's made the choice. They made the choice to say these youngsters are good enough for us. Yeah, they're good enough.
Yeah, they did.
Right. So at the end of the day, you've said they're good enough, so you've got to play them. You've got to play them. And that's it. You've made the decision. They're part of the squad. So, because like I said, you know me, Ashmatic. Yeah. I don't do backups. You know I don't do backups because you know what I'm going to say. Yeah? You know exactly what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? If we're going to do backups, let's get Harry Winks back. Let's get Højbjerg back. Yeah? Let's get Lamella back. Yeah? Let's get Bergwijn back. Yeah? All these players that we said not good enough. Let's get those players back because if we don't do backups, if we don't like. If we're going to do backups, let's get all those players back because those are backups. Those are backups. All I want is someone to compete. If you're not competing, I don't want you in my squad. I don't want you in my squad. And that's the thing. And like I said, if they're good enough for the squad, like they said at the beginning, right, there's none of this, oh, you're 18. If you're 18, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you 18. Like you said you're good enough for the squad. You're a generational talent, right? So you can come into the squad. So for me, he's got no choice. He's either sink or swim. And that's it for me. Because it's either that or he should have been put on loan. Because that's what Liverpool does. That's what Man United do. That's what Man City do. That's what Arsenal do. They did that with Saliba.
Can I bring up the tactics board, bro? I want to speak on something. Do you know if you can share that? Yeah, cool. So the reason why I wanted to share this tactics board is because this is basically what we saw with Brighton. Brighton started with Veltman. I'm showing this team. Kadioglu was a left back. Veltman was the right back. Dunk was the centre back, and then Igor. This was their back 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
They got Dunk. Igor come on for.
I think it was Webber.
Igor came on. And Igor's traditionally a left back, but if you look at the guy, he looks like a beast. Igor. He's traditionally a left back, but he came on, played left side of centre back, and he looked like he could deal with what Kulusevski was offering a little bit more, even though Kulusevski was owning them. So basically, with Igor in that back 4, because Kulusevski was getting on the ball quite a bit, he was pulling Igor out of position here. Right? So as he's putting him out of that position here, that allows Johnson to go inside here, right? Get his shot off. So do you see where this is the tactics of Postecoglou that people will critique here, and rightly so. And I'm here to critique as well. But I just want to put it in context why I felt it was working and then why it wasn't working in the second half. You have Bentancur here at the deepest pivot, the single pivot in that midfield. And you have Maddison and you had the doggy. Now, lots of people complain because you're like, the doggy inverts. But basically, Mente was marking him, that winger that always got here. We saw it in the second half. But basically, when Udogie dropped out over here and played in that pocket, which people hate, why is he a 10? Why is he a midfielder? That forced Mente here. Does that make sense?
Right.
When we're playing out the back and our centre back, Mickey van der Ven, pulls out wide, and remember, Mickey van der Ven did that run, crazy, boom, boom, boom. Because the doggie's doing that. Now with Maddison now, what we will do, oops, daisy, Maddison will drop here, right? And he will create with Porro. If Porro is here, a midfield three, for example, right? So you'd have a midfield three. Sometimes you'd have Porro that stays wide. Kulusevski stays there. Do you understand? Igor doesn't know whether he should hold back as a centre back or follow Kulusevski. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see what you're talking about now. So that's why Solanke's so important, because Solanke, he gets that space and he's holding up the ball, isn't he?
Right. So now Solanke,
I get what you're doing.
Solanke's an extra midfielder. Does Belieber go to Solanke or does he follow Maddison?
Yeah.
And then at risk is, look, Solanke's here. Dunk's got to push up on him. So, I can't leave him there. So now he's following him up there. Guess what? Johnson out to in. Werner out to in. That's the methodology behind it. Do you make sense?
Yeah.
Then what you would see sometimes is Kulusevski would swap with Porro, right? And you see Kulusevski here. But then sometimes what you'd see is Kulusevski jump here and then Johnson jump here. But then what Kulusevski can do is he can go from out to in. Do you see the rotations?
You've
got a rotation of Porro, you've got a rotation of Kulusevski, and you've got a rotation, you've got Johnson that's able to attack the pockets. I call this the half space, the pocket on the edge of the way effective, way he scored his goals. Out to in runs, boom, boom, boom. Do you know what I'm saying? Solanke, ball to feet, dragging Dunk with him, and then he's able to find that ball to Johnson to run onto, and that ball comes in, boom. Johnson runs onto it, boom, goal. And that's what we saw, innit, in that first half.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was working well. Certain times you would see, for me, Bentancur. So let's say like you had Hinselwood. Hinselwood's there. Let's put them in a like 4-4-2. So what Brighton did, they did a 4-4-2 narrow press, in the first half. And they didn't know whether to keep it ultra tight, keep their shape like this, 4-4-2, because they know that Spurs want to play through the middle, innit? You saw those overloads I did in the middle. They know Spurs want to overload in the middle. So they didn't know whether to go man-to-man or to keep their shape 4-4-2, innit? Now, what Spurs were good at doing, if Solanke was the man that pinned these two centre-backs, because he would stand in between the two centre-backs, or he would cover the goalkeeper, because sometimes they wanted to play out from the back, innit?
Yeah.
Solanke will curve his run.
He's very good at pressing. He is very good at pressing. He works very hard.
Sometimes you'd see Johnson jump here, and sometimes you'd see Solanke jump in between the two. So he's in the cover shadow of Postecoglou and Mitoma, innit? If it goes to Postecoglou, he jumps on him. If it goes to Mitoma, he jumps on him, So this is the first half. This is the shape. And then you've got, again, Maddison. Maddison's able to swap with a doggy at times. The doggy can go wide. And then Maddison drops here in this position, and he joins the attack. So then now with Bentancur could get on the ball, right? And Bentancur could either do a switcher play into Johnson, a switcher play into Kulu, or play it short to Porro, and Porro could be the man that goes long. Do you understand? So you've got two midfielders now that can either switch the play or hurt the teams, because they didn't know, like, what, should I press these guys? Should I press them and press them? All right, if I press them and Mickey van der Ven all of a sudden steps up and Porro steps up, that allows Bentancur to step in here, right?
Yeah.
Now, if he beats him and the ball goes to Bentancur's now in between the lines and they've beaten the press, Maddison can receive the ball. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was basically the game plan that was working so well. And you saw the rotation. Sometimes Maddison would go or Maddison would drop in here. And sometimes Kulu would be here and you'd see Solanke drop deep. If Solanke dropped deep in here, these two players will come in, for example, or one of these players will come in, and then Kulusevski would be free, or Kulusevski could run through the middle.
Can I just say something on this though? The thing I don't really like about this though, right?
Yeah.
Is that I see your point. I see your point.
Yeah.
Where I see Poro, I hate it. I absolutely hate the way he is at the moment. I think he should be way up there. I'll keep on banging on about it until day is dawning, because this guy, he has got so much to offer attacking wise for me.
Sometimes you would see Poro out wide though. He wasn't married to this position. Sometimes you did see Poro wide. That would force Matoma back. Do you understand? I think basically what happened was Johnson was getting a lot of joy because Postecoglou was touched tight to him, and Johnson, when he's touched tight, Johnson can turn and get in behind or just beat him for pace. So when you're touched tight to a player, that gives them freedom. And because Poro is operating on this line, that means Johnson can operate. I call this horizontal. Side to side means horizontal. And Poro is being vertical. So if he was here, that means Johnson could enter here, and then he could either come short or come long. Do you understand? Or he could pull here. Do you understand? So there was rotations between these three players, Poro, Kulusevski. Sometimes you saw Kulusevski out wide a lot. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it was Johnson out wide and he swapped over. But do you see the rotations?
Yeah, I see. You
see the rotations. Sometimes it'll be here, and then Poro's in the field and Kulu's there, and then Johnson's able to go there. Do you understand? The three, basically, they all rotate. Now, on the left-hand side, it's meant to be your doggy, Maddison in that midfield, and a doggy in that triangle. But because Werner hasn't played as much with these guys, they haven't got that same relationship that Maddison, Son, and a doggy have got. Do you know what I mean? Maddison will often trust the doggy in that pocket, because he said in the interview, remember, he's so used to the doggy being there because the doggy can get on a half turn and drive at players and get to the byline. And there was times when I saw Werner have the ball in this position here, and I'm like, give it to a doggy. He's making that run. But because he wasn't on the same wavelength and he hasn't played with him, he would cut inside here. Do you know what I'm saying? And then I've seen Kulusevski here, and then the first goal that happened was the ball came in. The ball came into Werner. Werner popped it to Kulu, and then Kulu put it to Johnson, and Johnson pocketed it in the net. Bang! Do you know what I'm saying? So that was
it Solanke that did it?
No, it was Solanke. It was Solanke. So that was the Man U goal. But I'm just showing that.
Oh yeah.
When he did it for Man U, but no, that was Solanke. This game was Solanke was in this position, so Solanke was in that pocket, and then Johnson was running onto it. Let's put the ball there, and then Solanke did a little through ball, and then Johnson came in first time, boom, in the net, boom, 1-0. Do you understand? But I'm just talking about the rotations of the team. When it does go well, it works. But let me just quickly talk about when it went wrong, because obviously it looks good. You know what I mean? I'm saying it sounds fancy, innit? But I think what happened in the second half was, and where Spurs struggled was, first of all, Postecoglou, he came off, right?
Yeah.
And they brought on Estepina, yeah?
And he was very good, to be honest.
Is way more aggressive, and he's more streetwise. He wasn't so touch tight to Brennan Johnson. He kind of gave him a little bit of space, and then he read his movement and won balls off Johnson. So Johnson didn't have the beating of him, right? Now, with Matoma was sometimes narrow and sometimes wide. But because Estepina was more aggressive and he was higher up, that made Matoma come inside, Welbeck go inside, Ruta go inside, and Mente was the fourth attacker. So they had like four attacking quite narrow. And what that forced Spurs to do, in my opinion, was bring Poro here, Romero here, Van der Ven, I don't know if you noticed, was here, and then you saw Doggy. He was here as well. Yeah, because remember the first goal, it went through Van der Ven. Remember, these two got drawn to Matoma. Welbeck gets in there. Is it Welbeck? Sorry, Rutter gets in there, and he ends up scoring a goal, innit? Yeah, and what's it called? Van der Ven missed the pass, and then that's when the Doggy miskicked it, and then that's when they scored. And Mente got in the end of it. Mente ended up scoring. Do you know what I mean? Well, basically, what happened was we played like a 4-1-4-1 when Bentancur, I don't know if you can see this, Bentancur here, Bentancur's in the midfield here, and then you've got Belieber and Madison on each other, and you've got Hinchelwood on, let's say, Kulusevski and Mr. Pina here. So they played a 2 at the back here, so 2-4-4, yeah. And what that meant is when the ball broke to Mr. Pina and Johnson got beat for whatever reason, all of a sudden Bentancur's having to come across. But as Bentancur's having to come across, all of this space is opening up.
Yeah,
Werner too high.
Yeah.
And he's left Veltman. He's left Veltman here, and then Mente is having all this space. Look at that gap.
Yeah.
So
we just weren't clever enough. We just weren't clever enough.
Yeah, that's where their manager made the tweak, and he made a personal change with their fullback who was getting skinned, and they said, "Let me get Estepinha on, who's a lot more physical, more direct, more fast." Do you know what I'm saying? More energetic. So then when we've got Veltman there, and you've got Mente here, all of a sudden, if the ball's on this side, bro, if the ball's on this side, my brother, like here, obviously all the Spurs players are going to get dragged across. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And what I was saying is before, I would expect either Romero to step up to help Bentancur. So Bentancur ain't got to come across. I want Bentancur to stay here. Or if Romero doesn't come across and Bentancur is coming across here, I need either Madison. Madison was high up. I need either Madison to drop in to deal with Belieber or to help him out with Rutter coming in here. Or I need Werner to drop in here. Werner wasn't covering his man. So Mente was left by himself a lot of the time. Werner, you need to help out your fullback. You know what I'm saying? If he's coming across
on the back
of back four, go on, sir, bro.
On the back of what you're saying at the moment, you've got to say Fabian Hutzler is very, very clever tactically. He's actually tactics Postecoglou here, especially in that second half, hasn't he? Because even in the first half, he saw Matoma was getting some joy down that right-hand side, that left-hand side for him, is it? Poro's right-hand side, where you saw Poro was getting a lot of trouble down that side. And,
Matoma was giving him hell.
Giving him hell. And I think that it was emphasised from what you said from the substitution when he'd taken off, I forgot his name now, and then Espagnan, who to be honest with you, was very good in the last game that we played against Brighton last year, wasn't it? He did a banger, didn't he? So for me, I think it's quite interesting to see how he changed it so effectively and did what he done, and he saw that Tottenham didn't know what hit them, and obviously it caught Postecoglou cold, didn't he? But I'll let you carry on because
all I want to say is Belieber, like for him, he kept turning Madison. So when they're playing it out from the back, when they're playing it out from the back, boom, 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 boom. When it got to Belieber, Madison's not got the physicality to deal with him.
No.
So I wouldn't be mad if they swapped over, because Belieber, I'd say, look, Kulu, you jump on this side, Madison, you jump on this side, or Bentancur, I just need you to deal with him, innit? I need you to deal with him. I'm not saying Madison's going to become a 6. Maybe Madison pulls wide here, innit?
I think this is where we're looking at leadership and composure, mate.
Well, communication, 100%. Communication.
This is where I have question marks. This is where I say, right? If you had Højbjerg, again, I'm not saying Højbjerg is a very good player here. I'm not, right? But if you had somebody like, if that's Gundogan, if that's Rodri, right? He ain't letting that happen.
Yeah.
Rice, he ain't letting that happen. Jorginho ain't letting that happen. You know what I mean? He's saying to like we got to change it up a little bit. You know what I mean? They're talking to each other. This is where the problem is at the moment, isn't it? Because what you just said there, Kulusevski could have been dealing with this. I forgot. I can't pronounce his name. I do apologise. But Busa, he could be dealing with that. You're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I think what would have been smarter is if you took him Werner off. Let's take Werner off.
Yeah,
because he wasn't tracking back. Allow Maddison to stay on, and because Maddison for me
he could have been on the left. He could be on the left.
Maddison can play left because he's got the. If you look at his body frame, his body shape, for me, Maddison, and he's played wide for Leicester as well. So I would utilize him a little bit wider, and then allow a player like a Basuma. If you don't trust Archie Gray, allow Basuma to be on him, to be physical, and then you've got. You still don't compromise your shape, but you've got a double pivot, so you've got a 4 and a 2. You know what I mean? You've got a 4 and a 2, and then you've got a 3. So that's the 3. Put Kudu there, and a 1 up top.
Do you think Bentancur's better than a double pivot? To be honest with you, because I don't think he feels comfortable in doing it on his own.
I you know what it was, but like what I was trying to explain is because Brennan Johnson wasn't like. Basically, Estepinha was a lot more aggressive, whereas Postecoglou, he was a more passive. You know what I'm saying? He kind of stayed in his own half. Whereas Estepinha kept looking for Matoma, was aggressive, knew not to be too tight to Johnson, and that's where it all started. Matoma, they had a good link up, and then that's when you take Johnson out of the equation. All of a sudden, when they're playing out from the back, because Johnson's press is broken, Estepinha has the ball, and then all of a sudden. You're outnumbered, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mokoro was like, oh shit, I've got to deal with him, or do I deal with him? And then what you're seeing is Romero having to come across, and then he's a 1v1 demon. He's able to beat him. Do you understand? And all of a sudden, Bentancur's got to go help out now. Do you understand? Yeah. So at times, you even saw when Poro was in position, Matoma had the better of both of them. You beat both of them, boom, boom, boom. And then like now what? He's beating 2 players. Now what? Now there's definitely an overload. Do you know what I'm saying? And like a doggy got a lot of slack, and it's rightly so. But at the same time, all of the defenders were culpable, in my opinion. Do you know what I'm saying? But it comes down to the wingers helping them out. Do you understand? Whoever's on the pitch, if Maddison's a winger and he's not able to help him out, at least in a 2, you've got Maddison that's able to cover Basuma is there to cover the half space, and Bentancur's there to cover the other half space. Do you understand? But it's down to the centre backs, in my opinion. One of them has to be aggressive and step out. Do you know what I mean? When we're playing, because remember, we didn't get done by a high line. So if we're not playing a high line and they've got like Welbeck and Ruta did really well is they dropped off them. So supposing Van der Ven and let's move a doggy over here. Supposing Van der Ven and Romero, move them other way around, we're here. Romero is meant to step up. If they're pulling off their centre backs, he's meant to follow him, innit? And then he's meant to be there as the last line of defence. Or sweep a keeper, innit? But obviously that's not going to happen. Van der Ven's going to be there to clean up. Romero, for some reason, wasn't engaging. He was just setting off. So I don't know if Ange was pissed off because of that. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to share the screen anymore, bro.
Yeah, cool.
Take it off. We're just going to talk now, but that's basically where I thought Ange was getting angry because we stopped doing the things we were good at in the first half, and we didn't acclimatize. When the players aren't doing it, it's down to Ange to pull one of those players off and tweak things and say, look, maybe I'll bring on Basuma, I'll take Werner off because Werner's not tracking his man, put Maddison in that position, and then we can deal with Mente a little bit better, or we can deal with, do you know what I mean? So it was like multiple things that I saw happening all at once. I remember it's at 100 miles per hour. The way I'm breaking it down is really slowly. But, you know, in the game situation, things are happening like that. Do you know what I mean? They scored within 3 minutes. Then, like, within 15, 20 minutes, we were 3-2 down. Do you know what I'm saying? Bang, 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 bang. What'd you do? Do you know what I'm saying? So, I like, people were very angry at Ange, rightly so, because he's got his hands in his pocket. He's doing this. He's not reacting. And then he comes out post-match. And I think this is what smacked it, bro. When he came out post-match and he was like, brother, these players should know. These players, like, you think substitutions are going to make a difference? They know what to do. And if they're not doing, that's not what he said word for word, but he was basically saying if they're not doing the intensity, if they're not pressing their man, if they're not, fighting and leaving everything on the field, what difference is a substitution going to make? Everything, bro. That's the whole point of a substitution.
I think it's a bit silly to say that when you're saying that you've got your squad and you believe in the squad, you're saying you've done better with that squad. You feel that you've got the best squad better than what you had last season, and you're saying, well, there's no point in making the substitutions. It's not going to change it. So really, you don't believe in that squad, don't you? Really, that's the way it looks to me, anyway.
The only logical thing I can say is, and it still doesn't excuse it, the only logical thing I say is that he was emotional, and that's the reason why he reacted to the report in that way and said, like, look, if I change, you think substitute, like, the problems are bigger than substitutions. The problems because we stopped doing what we did in the first half. We stopped being intense from minute one. You know what I mean? We weren't Solanke wasn't pressing as high. Johnson's not pressing as high, and therefore we allowed them to play out from the back. We didn't respond. We weren't like winning our duels. Do you know what I mean? Oh. Why are we not doing that? Why are we sitting off? Because remember, Ange doesn't like he wants to suffocate the pitch, squeeze the pitch. And for some reason, Van der Ven and Romero, they're not getting to that halfway line anymore. If they're not getting to the halfway line, then it's making the pitch bigger. You're allowing them, you're doing almost like a mid to low block, and you're inviting that pressure on. But I put that down to game state. Like, I put that down to the momentum turning. I put that down to them scoring early from our mistake and the fans getting behind them. You know how it is when you're in a stadium.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about the momentum. But the only way you can stop the momentum is, like I said earlier in the show, do silly foul, maybe kick it off the sides, or you want to rotate possession or make a substitution. Like, there's little things that you can try to stop.
Well, this is what the Arsenal would do. Arsenal, Man City would do. They know how to try and stop.
The Conte, to be fair, as well. We used to do a bit, and even
that's the point.
Towards the end, you know
but because we've got this mentality of we've got to play, we've got to keep on going, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, we've got to play our football. I don't think that really works. I mean, it might work in Celtic or Scottish League or wherever he's done before, but I don't know if that's going to work here. Because there are more smarter teams, and that's it for me.
No, you're right. Do you know what it is? Sorry to cut you. I know what it is. I think he's got the mentality of he doesn't see the purpose of just having possession and just passing it sideways and backwards. Remember, fans used to hate us when we used to pass sideways, backwards. He wants to build up really quick, like from the centre backs, build up, boom, 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 catch teams off cold and attack. Or if we don't do that, we're pressing and we're winning the ball high up, and then we're trying to, or we're doing little triangles like I showed. Midfielders are changing positions, and we're playing through teams, and we're scoring goals. He just wants to score as many goals. He thinks playing that sideways passing, that backwards passing is negative, and that's not the way you should play football. If you're playing football, you should play football with risks. You should play football with freedom. You should play attacking football. You need the way to win games is to put the ball in the back of the net. If you're playing ball backwards, sideways, blah blah blah, to him, I'm just saying, this is me guessing. He thinks that's negative, and he wants to get that out of the players, because when we started doing that, the high line dropped. We started doing a mid to low block. We invite them on. We invite the pressure on, and we ultimately lost the game. Do you know what I mean? Instead of doing what we did in the first half. Yeah, go on, sorry.
My argument is, sorry to interrupt you, I think the main problem is that have they got the energy to do that when things go wrong for them? Because I don't think they've got the mentality to say, because you can see the energy drop when the momentum went. So can you get that momentum very quickly doing the way that Ange wants to do it? Maybe sometimes you do have to sometimes hold back a little bit and then go again. You see what I'm saying? Because
to me it makes sense.
You can't just go again. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. It just doesn't pick up, especially when you've got players that are missing chances, because that's only going to make you feel even less confident to win the game as well, to be honest with you. Which is again why I go back to what people are saying that we're going over the top. We're not going over the top, because against Leicester, Newcastle, Arsenal, and in this game, and there were other games as well, you could see that this was an issue all through those games. Even the wins that we had, You see what I'm saying? Even against Man United, you saw a little bit. And the only reason why we won against Man United in the end, yes, we did play well and things did go right. It was our day on that day. But there were certain moments where Man United were on top. They were really on top, but we got the substitutions correct at the right time.
And that's what you give them
credit. Right time.
You
see what I'm saying? To stop the momentum. You can also say they had the red card, but we dominated. That's not the question mark here. But the main thing was they had a spell of a bit of a spell, Manchester United, in that game when it was 2-0. And then we made the substitution, and it was 3-0, game over, set, match done, completely done. We're out of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, this is where the issue is. And I think you've highlighted a lot of things that were good about the game, which we can't ignore. We've got to give it credit where credit's due, because we have to do that as Tottenham fans now these days, to be humble. But like I say, I still haven't we haven't got a trophy to feel humble anyway. So I don't know where we're going with that. Anyway, moving on. You know what I mean? 23 years. What was it? How long was it now? How long is it? Oh my gosh! I mean, I might as well.
17 years. I think it's 2008.
Oh bloody hell! Thank goodness I went to Jamaica to have some nice Jamaican music. Anyway, moving on. The point is that you can see the problems. You can just see it, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, you made a valid point just now. You said at least for Man United, you did see him control the tide. When the tide was turning, he did make the substitutions. I think he froze personally in that game, the Brighton game. He was so dumbfounded with what was going on. Like, and also, like, if he was there trying to prove a point, then I don't think he was. But if he was, I'm not making substitutions just to teach him a lesson, then you're mad. But that doesn't make any logic to me. So I'm discounting that. I literally think he just froze, bro, and was like, what is going on here? And then only made that change from that 79th minute. But that was the wrong decision for me. That should have come way earlier. And to have both, for me, Basuma and Sarr, two similar profiles, in my opinion. Obviously, they're slightly different. One's more mobile, box-to-box energy. The other one's more on the ball. He can turn. He's technically better than that. So Basuma's technically better than Sarr. But I think you either go one or the other. Do you understand? Not bring them both on, especially when you're trying to attack and get up the pitch.
Yeah.
It was too, like, samey. You know what I'm saying? You just tweak one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tweak one. See how that goes.
He could have been more clever. I think he could have used the players better. I think, like I say, I think you've made a very good point in the fact that you could have put Maddison on the left. You could have used. I still think you could have used Porro better. You see what I'm saying? You could have put Spence on the right. You could have put Spence on the right. You know, you could have used Archie Gray, because you've been playing with Archie Gray right back. You could have done that and played Porro more forward. I just think
I think he wanted to use Johnson's blistering pace. I know, like in terms of getting into the box and scoring the goals. I know, like, Porro's good at staying high and wide, but I think with Ange, he thinks he can still do that in that fullback role. Obviously, he's starting from a further back position, but when you've got Porro starting back from further position, it's harder to pick up. Yeah. So he's still able to go on the outside and still whip him crosses. Obviously, if he's out there wide as a winger, you're doing that rotation, Porro, Kulusevski, and Spence. It will be that will be the third player. That will be the third player. And so,
because they want that,
you can still get what you want from Porro, but he can still play fullback. But I think you've got a problem with the inversion. You don't like him inverting as much. But I don't think he inverts as much as it was in the first season. The first season was just pure inversion. I think the second season now, we're seeing the fullback slightly wider, and they don't live in the pockets. They don't live in that midfield position. Do you know what I mean?
agree with you there. It's just I think he could. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, because, like, you want to get the maximum out of Porro, and we've got Solanke. Solanke's in the box. He could whip the ball into Solanke. Solanke can header it. He's the best crosser of the ball. So I understand the logic behind it. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to compare what Poch was doing, because I was obviously
that's exactly what I wanted to talk about as well, because other than other things as well, in terms of what we've done the last how many games we've had now? Six games now, seven games, 6 games now. So yeah, we can get onto that later on. But yeah, I would go on.
Yeah. So I just wanted to explain, like, and I think success leaves some clues. I'm not saying Poch was successful in terms of trophy winning, but in terms of what the rotations that Poch did, and he had the balance between attack and defense. So he had a balance between pragmatism and being more offensive. Do you know what I mean? Being more risk taking. You know, I don't know if you can share my screen again. I won't do it for long this time. I'm just going to quickly explain what I thought the Ange, Pochettino era did. So we had the two fullbacks, Vertonghen playing left sided centre back, Toby Alderweireld playing right sided centre back, and then you had Rose playing as a flying up and down fullback, which we now know as a wing back, and you have Walker ultra aggressive as well. Now, because I've got the lines there just to show you, you don't want two players in the same line, innit? Yeah.
No.
So what would happen was Eriksen would jump in here, right? As Eriksen's jumped in here, Son would also jump in here as well. And that would allow Rose and Walker to be ultra aggressive and be high in it. Now, obviously, you're thinking, like, what's so different? Well, we know what's different. They're not inverting, but they're leaving the space for my man here. I don't know if you can see that. My man here and my man here to exploit. You see what I'm trying to say? But the difference is because Pochettino would double pivot, Dyer would pull over, Dembele could pull over, and then Dele Alli could drop in. Do you know what I'm saying? Eriksen could drop in. Do you know what I'm saying? And then Son could drop in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that would leave some protection there. Do you know what I mean? If that happens. Now, what I saw with the four, like I said, he made the wingers invert, yeah? Now, because these wingers were inverting, they were very clever. I thought what Dele Alli did, Dele Alli would swap with Eriksen. So Eriksen will come to 10, pick up the ball from midfield, and he was the focal point. Everyone thinks Kane was the focal point. No, Eriksen was the focal point. So Eriksen was the focal point. Ali was here. Son was here. So then now, you don't know. If you were marking Eriksen man-to-man, if you pulled out here and then all of a sudden they swap positions, Ali's free. He's making that late run into the box. Kane's there, innit? You've got two up front. So what Kane would do, he would make horizontal movements and Ali would make vertical movements. That's why he was always arriving in the box super late. Do you understand? But between the four of them, they knew to rotate. So sometimes Son would be here and you'd see Kane on the edge picking up the ball with Son arriving late. Do you understand? Sometimes,
it was wasn't it?
Yeah, the four of them would rotate like crazy. You'd see, apart from maybe someone might go over here, Ali would go here. But the rotation, they would always rotate. So the teams used to find it really hard to deal with them. Didn't know, even Eriksen sometimes would bang goals, arriving late, scoring goals. If you watch the videos back, which I did. With Dembele was more the advanced of the double pivot. So
that's why it's so important. Pivot. And then you had Dyer there as well, wasn't it?
So Dyer, and obviously later on it was Wanyama. Dyer was playing the halfback. We call it a halfback because he was in between the midfield and the centre back. So he sometimes created a back three. So what we had was a 3, a 2 in the midfield with Ali, and then the fullbacks. Sorry, so it'd be a 3-4. So the fullbacks are here, 3-4, and then a 1 with Eriksen there, and then you've got 2 Kane and Son.
Can you when you look at this sort of what with Poch and you see the thing with Postecoglou, when I remember with Poch, and again I go back to what I felt with him at the beginning. I wasn't there with him, but I think it just grew on me because it just felt different for some reason, and it just felt like more fluent, and we had better quality player that it just felt right. It just felt, it just felt really good the way that we were just playing it, and it was really effective. I think really effective. But that's just me. I think that's where I
Bro,
think.
remember, it took time because if you deep it, when
Mm.
Pochettino came in, he did get rid of a lot of players,
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
but
agreed.
he lent on the academy a lot, right?
Yeah,
He
which
lent
is
on the
what
talent a lot.
I criticise for Ange for, because he don't seem to use them a lot, the
Right.
youngsters.
But the thing is, when Poch took over, we went in Champions League. There wasn't that same expectation because Sherwood, he took over Sherwood, didn't he?
Yeah,
So he come off the Sherwoods and we weren't in Champions League. We're in Europa. And so he was able to lean on the youngsters a bit more because there was less pressure, if that makes sense, in his first season. So what he did when he blooded in Mason, remember he had Mason in the
Mason
midfield,
Bentaleb.
Mason and Bentaleb. They were the double pivots at first, innit?
Mm.
Then up front, he had Lamella in the three and Chadley, if you remember. So we had Lamella, Chadley, Ericsson, and Kane. That was the start. And that happened into the second season. So, like I'm talking about these first 6 games. In the first 6 games of Poch's second season, he had Chadley on the left wing. He had, what's his face? Lamella on the right wing. Yeah, who's left-footed, like Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Then he had Ericsson as the 10, and he had Kane, and then he brought in Ali, and he was Ali, I believe. Dele Ali was in midfield with Dele Ali and Ericsson. Was it Dele Ali and Ericsson?
Dele Ali and Ericsson, and I think there was Chadley, but I think it's mainly Lamella and Son. Mella and Son.
No, before Son. Son was brand new. Remember, Son came summer window, but Son was.
Oh, was it this the Frenchman, the African player? I forgot what his name is.
No, Wanyama weren't there yet. Wanyama. This is before. Remember, like that summer, we just bought Wanyama. We just bought. I think it was Eric Dyer. It might have been Eric Dyer in that midfield.
No, it was Eric Dyer midfield. It was definitely Eric Dyer midfield. Yeah.
So it might have been Eric Dyer in midfield with
I'm trying to think now.
I had it as well. Eric Dyer in midfield, and
it was Eric Dyer with Dembele.
No, this is even before Dembele. Dembele came in about the 7th or 8th game. Like, I think it was against Liverpool when Dembele came in. The 7th or 8th game, that's when Dembele came in. So before Dembele, it was Dyer in the midfield.
Yeah, Dyer in the midfield.
It was
Mason.
It was it wasn't even Mason. It was Ali. It was Dyer and Ali. Dele and Ali. It was a 4-2-3-1. It was a 4-2-3-1. So the 4-2-3-1, the double pivot was Ali and Dyer. And then the 3 in front of them was Ericsson in the middle, Lamella on the right, and Chadley on the left, and then Kane was at the top. So that was the first 6 games. And then it changed against Liverpool. When we played Liverpool, then Dembele came in, and it was Dembele and Dyer. Because I think...
Was it after that 0-0 draw?
Yeah, after that 0-0 draw. You're right. You got it. You remember it.
Yeah.
So then after that 0-0 draw, that's when Dembele and Dyer were the midfield too. And then he put Dele Ali on I think it was on the right, and moved Ericsson as the 10. And then eventually he blooded in Son, because Son was still a new signing. So Chadley got injured, I remember. Chadley got injured and then Son came in. So the reason why I'm trying to take you back to there is because he formed that team just after the international break. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we're obviously in the international break. The results, obviously, they played a lot more games because they never had a Euro. Remember, we just had a Euro.
We had Europa League.
Yeah, we had Europa League, but I mean, their season started earlier.
Yeah.
Like between then and the international break, they had played more games, if that makes sense, between now and then. Because I checked the points tally, and I saw that Pochettino had picked up 12 points compared to, I think, what's Postecoglou got? 8 points?
I think it's 8.
About 8 or 9 points, basically less than Poch at the moment, because remember, it's our worst start, yeah?
Yeah.
So, but basically, the point I'm making is he had played more games before the international break, equivalent to what he had then, if that makes sense. And he was able to form that team. And then what with Pochettino, because he lent on the academy team, those academy players slowly got blooded out. Because remember, Mason disappeared. He got kicked out. So did Bentaleb. Bentaleb got kicked out.
Yeah,
yeah.
because he got
Dyer
injured.
wasn't a part of the academy. We bought Dyer.
No, he bought Dyer. Yeah,
we bought Dyer. So Dyer wasn't even a part of the academy.
Yeah.
So when those academy players got moved out, it was only Kane that survived. Do you know what I mean? So with that season, that's when we got second, didn't it? I think we got
third. Third, I think it was, because we fell.
Wasn't it second then third?
No,
we got
third and second, yeah. Third and second,
yeah. Okay,
because his second season, it went a little bit downhill towards the end because we lost 5-1 to Newcastle.
Newcastle, yeah.
I mean, Arsenal.
That was the third season then. That was the third season, right?
Pardon?
5-1 to Newcastle.
It was the second season. Second season.
Oh, so you got third then second.
Because remember, it was Leicester City that won the league, wasn't it? It was that funny season, wasn't it? Because we had the first season that we got finished.
If you deep it though, the teams around at that time, I remember Oren brought this up the other day. The teams around that time when we were getting third and second, Pep, first season, building this team. Even Klopp, first season. If you actually look at Liverpool's 11, I think they had like Skirtle was in there.
Yeah.
They had like.
I didn't agree with what Orient said, but yeah, I get what you're
saying. Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, like, forget that. I know, but I'm just saying that they were very much in the infancy of their tenure when Poch was around. So that kind of like made it like Spurs finished higher up because Liverpool were out of it, City were out of it, and it was between us and Chelsea. Really, do you know what I mean? And all the other teams like Arsenal, it was the first time we were finishing above Arsenal.
It was a strange season that season, wasn't it? Because Manchester United weren't really that great. They weren't that great, and it was just one of those strange seasons that season, wasn't it? Arsenal were disappointing in that season, weren't they as well?
Yeah.
So I think
Emre was there, isn't
it? I don't think it was. I don't think it was an easy season to stretch.
It wasn't an easy season, but Eriksen was 25 prime, so you had prime Eriksen at that time.
Yeah,
Kane was 23. Yeah, young Kane. Song was 24. Yeah, Dele Alli was 18.
Well, that's the thing, because it was a very young team, wasn't it? And
very young team,
and that's why it was very effective, because the press, because they had the energy to do it.
Right,
you know what I mean, and that's it.
Right then. And even if you remember, as it went further on, there we go, fifth, third. I knew it was fifth, third, second, fourth. I knew it was that.
Yeah.
I knew we progressed. I knew we went. Yeah, we went up, down. It was like it was up and down. It was up and down. Yeah. Third, second, fourth.
That's a bit right. But big up everybody in the chat. By the way, big up everybody in the chat. I hope you're enjoying yourself. And if you've got any questions in the chat that you want to ask me or Ashmatic, please put a Q in front of it, and then we'll answer, get it to the end of the show, and that's it. So big up to everyone in the chat, by the way. Go on, Ashmatic.
Yeah. So also, if you deep it as well, in that time it was really high pressing. We picked up a lot of injuries as well, there's a complete divide, a complete fall off between the first 11 and the second 11.
I think the problem with Poch is that he didn't bring somebody. He couldn't get anybody that was better to really compete. You see what I'm saying? But I think he used the squad the best he could.
Same problem.
Because he liked small squads. He really did like small squads, didn't he? So, but I do feel that he did use the squad as best he could. I think the only thing he did.
If you think about it, sorry to cut you. If you think about it, that we brought in under, I'd say, what was it, Baldini? It was between Baldini and Hitchin, and I forgot the other guy's name, Ian something.
Paul Mitchell.
Just before Paul Mitchell. But there was another guy that was working alongside Hitchin, in it. So just before Paul Mitchell. But basically, Baldini was the crossover, and basically we brought in Wimmer. We brought in Wimmer because Lamela was already there. He was from Baldini, and Eriksen was already there from Lamina. That was from that Bale Fantastic Seven, isn't it?
Yeah, we brought in the from Lyon, I think it was. We brought
Wimmer in. We brought Nkudu. That was NG. NG as well. We bought NG in, and we also bought the Dutch striker. Remember the Janssen?
Janssen, yeah.
Janssen. So they didn't make the first team. They were like the second team. Do you understand? And the drop off was so crazy that when Moussa Dembele like eventually broke down because he had mad knee injuries. Kane had mad ankle injuries in that season. Remember when he was on the potch because of the pressing, he couldn't handle it. Then also Eric Dyer had knee injuries as well, and Danny Rose, if you remember right. Danny Rose had mad knee injuries. So that's when Ben Davies was brought in. Ben Davies was the backup. I know you hate that word, but he was the backup for Danny Rose, and Trippier was meant to be the backup.
But I will give him this. He was actually better then because he did come in and he wasn't that bad then. To be fair,
he was young and fresh, and
he was young and he wasn't that bad. The drop off wasn't that bad, to be honest with him.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You know, and even Trippier when he came in, he wasn't that bad.
No, he wasn't bad. He was actually quite good. He came from Burnley. I remember from Burnley, he was really good as a fullback, and like the drop off. The problem happened was Danny Rose kept getting injured, and then we sold Walker. Walker went to Man City, innit?
Then we bought in Aurier.
For me, when Yama got injured and Dembele eventually broke down, we bought Sissoko in. But remember, Sissoko from Newcastle was a right mid. I don't know if you remember that. He wasn't even a centre mid. We moved him from a right mid who we bought him from. I remember we were competing with Newcastle for him. We bought him from Everton, and we bought him. No, it was the other way around. We're competing with Everton, sorry.
Because he was going to go to Everton, wasn't he?
Yeah. So we bought him, but as a right mid, and we had to play him as a centre mid, double pivot. Because I remember it wasn't working. Everyone was on Sissoko, and it was a drop off from Dembele, innit? Having Sissoko, and then losing Wanyama and Dembele to have Sissoko and Winks. That was a massive drop off. Do you understand? So that's where things for me kind of broke down. And then, like I said, the disparity between the bench and the first team was too much of a drop off. And the thing is, the two teams, the first team knew exactly who they were, and the second team knew exactly who they were. Meaning, the second team knew they weren't going to start. It was always going to be Ali, Eriksen, Kane, Son.
Which is what where we've seen the similarities with Pochettino and
Postecoglou. Competition for places, not competition. You got one solid team. The other team is like, are they really competing for spaces, or is this midfield now fixed? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and even like the rotations I was showing you, I was like, looking at when Eriksen was on the wing and he dropped from winger into midfielder. I know Kulusevski's not doing that because he's going from midfielder into sometimes a wide player, and then sometimes as a wide player he plays as a false 9 or a 10. Do you know what I mean? And then you see Solanke drop in. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm just showing that there's different rotations in different ways. The difference that I think where Poch had a bit more pragmatism was he allowed what Højbjerg used to do. He allowed the centre mid drop into the two.
Yeah, that was Dyer.
Allowed them to split. Allowed them to split. Dyer as well. Allowed them to split, and then you had a back three, and you could cover the spaces. Do you know what I'm saying? Or if it was two in the midfielder, as you said, one midfielder will cover one fullback, and another midfielder will cover another fullback, and that way you've got pitch coverage.
And then that's why we dominated a lot of the games as well, because we had a strong midfield in Dembele doing that, as well as Wanyama, and it was a very good partnership. They knew their roles, and that really helped the team. And that's where you saw the triangles with combinations up front, and that's it. Which, to be fair, if we're going back onto what we're saying about Ange, because then people think that we're just talking about Pochettino, it's a Pochettino stream, which I'm not going to go used to.
No, short segment.
But you know what I'm saying. You know how people on the chat, you know what I mean? They think they talk about Poch all the time, and you can't get over that. But the reason why I'm saying that is I think it's a very good example, because you see what Ange is trying to create, we're now actually defending Ange here a little bit, even though you know my feelings on him. I think you can see what he's trying to do a little bit. It's just that with the players that were back in Poch's era and to what we've got at the moment, it's kind of chalk and cheese, isn't it? Really, when you look at it, there were better players then,
Yes.
that had a little bit more
Younger.
nous, a little bit more arrogance about them. You knew what Ali was like. You knew what Kane was like. You definitely knew what Dembele was like. You knew what Alderweireld was like, and Vertonghen were like.
Yeah,
You know, you could see exactly what they were like. Big up Mari every single time. But yeah, you know, yeah, you knew exactly what they were like. Definitely.
I think that's the reason why I said, like, I ain't seen Archie Gray. I don't know what he brings, but the fact that we played him centre back and we played him right back and left back, are we trying to teach him as a 6 how to cover those positions by playing in those positions, if that makes sense? So are we trying to blood him in and trying to develop him and develop his football brain by playing in a different position to understand the role, what that player needs, and what it looks like from their position if you're playing in the midfield? So eventually, if he does become a 6, and he does sit in that midfield, he can do what Eric Dyer was doing. He can do what Højbjerg was doing. And he can drop in between the 2 centre-backs, become a 3, and become like that type of 6, you know what I mean? Where we allow Romero and Van der Ven to split, do you know what I'm saying? And then we've got that kind of, you know, protection in that midfield. I don't know, like, but I'm just saying that when I saw, because I watched that Leeds versus Chelsea game, and I did see a competent midfielder then. And he was even younger. So I'm not saying he's ready now. I don't think he's ready now. I think he might need time, but maybe that was their thinking. Like, all right, we need to, because before we kept missing on the mark. For example, I spoke to you about Crystal Palace. They bought Eze from QPR. They bought Elise from Reading. Blackburn. They bought a Blackburn player in Adam Wharton. Do you know what I'm saying? He's a very competent 6, in my opinion, in terms of distribution, getting on the ball, being brave. He epitomizes that position. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they were looking at that, what Palace did, and think, "Right, we need to go and do what Palace did." I look at Bournemouth.
You can see exactly what's happening now with Wharton at the moment. You can see exactly what's happening with him right now, isn't it? You know?
Well, look, for me, it's 6 games in. So I can't make a sweeping statement about Wharton at all.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that because he did so well last season, right? Now you've got to do better next season.
I hear it, but Glasner has had a stinker so far. It's not just Wharton. I think the whole team. Do you know what I mean? The whole team's kind of like dropped off. Is that down to Glasner?
I agree with you.
Or is it down to Wharton's not performing? So, but the point I'm making is the reason why I reckon we went for the Archie Gray was because
what you saw.
Instead of spending 50 million and like supposedly we let Archie Gray to go to Brentford now, and then all of a sudden Archie Gray is the next big thing. We would have to pay 70 million now for him because we're looking for that type of young player. He's good on the ball, can play in the 6th position, and now we have to spend the money. It's a bit like, you know, Semenyo, and that was a transfer I was going to talk to you about because we're being linked to a Semenyo in this international break, isn't it?
What surprise!
But the source isn't super strong, but nonetheless, it's still a link, in it.
Yeah, but before we go on to that, I do want to say, because I do agree with you what you're saying about Archie Gray. I see your logic and what you're saying.
No, that's what I think. Maybe that's what they were.
I see your logic. What you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. Yeah. And before we do that, I've got to, because it's that time of the show, Ashmatic, where I've got to say hello to everyone in the chat. I have to say hello to everyone in the chat. Big up Mark. Big up Mark Cook. Big up to Mark Cook. Big up to Mapin Passar. Big up to you. Big up to you, Brian Daigle. Big up to Ben Kufman as well, the best mod and vigilant mod in the business. Big up to you, Scott Hyam. Big up to you. Big up to you, David. Big up to you all. Big up to you. Big up to you, Mo.B. Big up to you. Big up to you, Hasper. Big up to you, John Fitzpatrick. Big up to you, Rob Frank.
Big up, Rob.
Big up to you, Mike Sapapa. Big up to you. Big up to you, Absolute 22. Big up to you. Agree with you about the second half. Big up to you. Big up to you, Baloo. Big up to you, Phil Phil Quays, big up to you, mate. Big up to you. Hope you're doing well. Big up to you, Phil. Danny Quays, big up to you, the Sheriff. Big up to you, mate. Big up to you, Mark Cousins. Big up to you, the real one. Big up to you. Big up to you, Boasted. Big up to you. I think I've got everybody there. Big up to you, Audio Awesome. Big up to you. Big up to you, Chinks. Big up to you. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the support there, mate. And always, every single time. Big up to you, Scott M.
Big up
to you. Big up to you, Scott M. And keep it real every single time. And thanks for support as well. Big up to you. Big up to you, Control. Big up to you. Big up to you, Only Spurs. Big up to you. There's a lot here. Big up to you. We've been talking a lot here. Big up to you.
For a minute, man.
Big up to you, Floyd Jarrett. Big up to you. Big up to you. Big up to you, Peter. Can't pronounce that. Big up to you. Big up to you anyway. Big up to you. Big up to Ruben Song. Big up to you. Big up to you, Still Sig Goal. Big up to you. We've got a lot here. Big up to you, Amin Cora. Big up to you. Yeah, to be honest with you, I can agree with you. What do you think about this comment?
Ange isn't a long-term manager. He doesn't stay at club more than 3 years.
You know what's funny,
because he brought up. He actually changed what he said. He said, you know, it depends how long it takes him to do the project. I think he said in that interview once. So I don't know if that means he's looking to, you know, like maybe Scotland or in Japan it was an easier fix, and maybe he's thinking, right, this job is a lot harder. And I thought it was, so I might need a bit more than 3 years.
If you looked at that face after the game, bro, against and you look at his face after the game. Yes, I think he thought that.
Can't lie. Managers like Pochettino, Nagelsmann, Klopp are the long term. So basically, he's saying he's not a project manager, and it's interesting because some people made him because of his arrogance. They might think he's a win now kind of manager because he's got that kind of we need to be doing better. We need to. And you said he's not a coach, so he doesn't really develop players, but obviously he employs coaches to do that.
But he's got a coach there already that it does it, and he's
doing got Tim Montgomery. Obviously, we're not going to talk about Mason, but Mason, we thought he was going, but he's not. He's staying around, isn't he? But yeah, he's got coaches in there to help develop this young team into what they're going to be, innit? But yeah, time will tell if it'll be successful. Obviously Pochettino, he was excellent, like at understanding personalities.
I think Eddie Howe is better than him as well as a coach. I'll be honest with you. I think Eddie Howe. I respect him, man. I respect Eddie Howe. I like him. Look at what he's done with Joe Linton.
Yeah, he's done well with Joe Linton. You've seen that he's a physical player, not so clinical in front of goal. So yeah, let me bring you back. Do you know what I'm saying?
So that's that for me. But big up to you, Amin Cora. Big up to you, John Fitzpatrick. Big up to you. Big up to you. Big up to you. I can't pronounce your name. Sorry, but big up to you. Big up to you. Big up to you. But Ashmatic got it right. Thank you very much. Big up to you, Mari. Big up to you. And big up to you, International Observer. Big up to you. We need a specialist number 6. I think everybody was saying that anyway, but we got ignored. Big up to you, Mrs. Bunny. Big up to you. Big up to you. Big up to everybody in the chat. Big up to you. I can't get for everybody. Big up to you.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Big up to you. I don't know what
I'm going to move.
Big up to you. Big up to you, Alpesh. Big up to you, Tintin. Big up to you, Ray. Big up to you. Big up to everybody in the chat. If you have any questions with it, that you want to ask us, put a Q in the Q box. And then we'll.
I've got a question for you. I've got a question for you. If you keep reading out. Keep reading out. Go on.
Yeah. Alpesh has said, did Lee Kazi do an Ange versus Greece tonight? I didn't even know that England were actually playing, to be honest with you. But you know what I mean?
Greece won. Greece beat them 2-1, innit? And I think
really?
He played with no strikers. He played with Bellingham. Was it Bellingham and Foden? I think they were up front.
Really?
So he played as 2 false nines. He played 2 false nines instead of having like a focal point. and they look really pretty on the ball, but there was no end product, there was no substance. So maybe that's what he means. Like sometimes when you see Solanke drop in and we don't have a focal point, did like Lee Carty do an Ange versus Greece? Maybe that's what he means. But I've got a question for you, like, because there's been like a lot of rhetoric at the moment on Romero, and I know you're not his biggest fan. And I wanted to ask you, do you think Romero is an Ange player, or do you think Romero is suited for the system? Like, do you think he's good enough? Do you think he's good enough for Spurs moving forward?
I think he's a player that has his own mind. I think he likes to play. I think he likes to play further, a little bit forward. Whether he's obviously a good footballer. He's a good footballer. Whether he's a good defender, there is question marks. We have to say that because he has made some very big errors that has led to goals. We have to say that. Whether to answer your question, I say he's a good footballer, defender, and you can say leadership. There's question marks, big time. I don't think he's not better than the Saliba. This argument, him being better than Saliba.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that you can see what we can say. He's no better than Van Dijk.
No way.
You know what I mean?
No
I think he gets very frustrated because he knows how good he is. That's it, really, for me. So I think he does have that sort of thing about him that he wants to win, and I think that's why. Spoiler alert: he'll be off to Real Madrid next season.
I disagree. I think Saliba will be off to Real Madrid next season. I don't think he continues in this vein of form. Like they were looking at them both in the North London derby, and I heard that whoever gets it right, they're the one they're going to target. So they're both looking at both Saliba and Romero, and obviously Gabriel dunked on Romero, innit, with that header. So they're going to look at that, look at Saliba and not conceding. And Arsenal's defense looked pretty mean, shrewd. He's a bit younger than Romero, I think, as well. He's younger than Romero. I think with Romero, though, I think a lot of people are like disrespecting him at the moment because of the first, not the first 6 games, but lately he's been having lapses of concentration and it's been leading to goals. And it's like people are like, Romero is not good enough. Or
do you think that's because he needs to be in the free, though? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that should be because
no? I know I've heard this before, and like he has played in the free, but I feel when he is in the 2, Van der Ven is the one that plays like a sweeper, and Romero is more the aggressor. Do you know what I mean? He's the one that goes searching for the ball. He's more proactive. And actually, Mickey Van der Ven said, I've learned to be a lot more aggressive in my play because of Romero. I've picked up some of those traits off of him, being a lot more physical, because he said in Germany, I wasn't as physical as this. But in the Premiership, you have to be physical and you have to be aggressive in terms of like you're challenging and winning the ball and being there first. And sometimes, I don't know if people notice it, sometimes Romero is the sweeper and Van der Ven is the one that looks for the ball and tries to win that ball high up. I've seen them interchange at times. But I think overall, it'd say like maybe before Ange, Romero was reckless. Like he was picking up red cards here and there. Do you know what I'm saying? But then I think last season, he calmed down. He got the 1 red card against Chelsea. And I think that was his only red card, bro, if I remember right. I don't think he had a red card after that. And there was at one point where he didn't even pick up a single yellow card when he was. So his concentration for me improved. Now, I wonder after the next 6 games if he can have a self-reflection and think, I need to step my game up. I need to challenge myself to be more disciplined, to switch on and to do what I've been doing well, winning that ball high up, being more proactive, because that's where I think he dropped off, especially in that Brighton game. In that second 45 minutes, he was dropping off too much. Do you know what I mean? I think in the air, Romero offensively is one of our best headers of the ball. Like the amount of goals he scores from set pieces and corners is crazy. As you said, as a footballer, I think Romero on the ball, second to none. Like his passing, pinpoint on the floor, or he can switch to play like a Toby if he wants to, because there was a ball he threw into Maddison in the first half, and it almost got to him. And there was one where it did get to him. So he's got that kind of ball over the top, as well as ball into feet from deep, and he can carry the ball as well. When he wants to, he can carry the ball. And I think that's why you were like, I want to see Romero as a 6, as a DM, because he's so good on the ball. Do you understand?
Well, I do think he's got that, but I think I hear the arguments why he shouldn't do it, but at the same time, sometimes you do feel that he is that sort of busybody sort of guy. You know what I mean? That I think he would take that responsibility on for me. And I think if you can learn to give him that sort of responsibility, I think he would run with it. To be honest with you, I think it's worth a try in my eyes. You know what I mean? Because I think he is very good on the ball. He is, but
the only reason why I think they haven't done it is because they don't have enough centre backs. Dragoshin's the only cover. So I know, but I'm just saying. I mean, 3 centre backs. If you imagine if you had Dragoshin, Romero, and Van der Ven, and then one of them gets injured, you can't play that back 3 anymore. You got to go to a back 2.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So then it's no. But I think personally, if you play a back 3, then what happens is, what I've read up on some coaching sites and tactical sites, is that the whole reason why you have a back 3 is to allow the middle centre back to venture forward, and the other 2 centre backs are there to cover. So that centre back essentially turns into a half back, where he can. So there's no need for a DM. Do you know what I'm saying? There's no need for a midfielder in the pivot, because you've got the coverage of that pitch. But I just wonder if Ange sees the makeup of the players and he's like, we can really pin teams in and can dominate possession, because we've got players that do have the makeup of that on the ball. They can hurt teams. They're not scared to have it. My problem is sometimes is because they're so technical and they want to take a risk, and answers to take a risk, and it's on me, innit? Just take the risk. There's times that I saw in that Brighton game, Bentancur was trying to turn in central areas near the box, and I was like, not there. I hear what you're trying to do, and I do like it. If you do beat your man, then it looks like a counter-attack and we've beaten the press. But I would prefer you to take that risk a little bit higher up in the defensive middle third, like on the D. Do you know what I'm saying? Of the midfield, where that circle is, in the middle, in the midfield. If a player's pressing you, then turn them there. Don't turn them on the edge of your box.
Yeah.
If you turn them on the edge of your box, you're trying to do the half turn and you lose it. Because that's what happened as well. The last Brighton game, I remember that when we were at Amex last season, Maddison's trying to get on a half turn. And it's like, you're doing too much in the wrong areas. I need you to do that type of skill higher up and relieve the risk. But there's a question for in the
I want to do this because I forgot to big up Philly. Big up to you, bro. Big up to you. I think he's agreeing with you actually about the 5-3-2. He says that's why I don't want to play the 5-3-2, as Spurs have no cover at centre back. You said about the centre backs. I think that was it. Yeah. So big up to you, Philly. Big up to you, Philly, because I missed you out. I'm sorry about that. We've been talking so long. We do have some questions. Okay, so one question I've got here is, realistically, how long do you think Levy gives Ange? Because no manager has gone back-to-back years without losing the job, especially if you don't get top 4. Do you want to answer the question?
It's a tough question. Well, it's a fair question. I think it's depending on cup runs. I think if Ange has a good cup run, or he manages to sneak a cup, then that buys him time. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that buys him time, especially if it's in the Europa League, because that guarantees you into the Champions League. And I think the Europa Cup is the most important cup competition, in my opinion, for Levy if he wants to get that top 4. Because I see, honestly, Aston Villa ahead of us. I know they got Champions League, they got loads of games, but we've got loads of games as well. And I feel like they're managing it well because they did the job on Bayern Munich company. What happened there, I don't know, but they did a job on Bayern Munich, and it almost revitalized them. When you get a good performance or a good win, it helps you in the league. Even though they did kind of stink it out against United, I thought they would have done a lot better. But I still see them slightly above us. Do you know what I mean? I think we can beat them if it's a head-to-head. But I mean, generally, when it comes to consistency, I feel like they're a lot more consistent than we are. Now, you could argue pound for pound, man for man, whether we're a better team. That's a different conversation. But in the course of a season, I could see them maybe pipping us. Chelsea, I just think their firepower is superior.
Absolutely, they've got the best.
A lot of people were cussing them. I remember I kept asking people about Chelsea. Well, what do you guys think about Chelsea? Everyone's like, nah, Chelsea are terrible. Chelsea are awful. And it could be a manager bounce. We don't know, innit? But one thing I can say about Chelsea is the depth in attacking areas. So
I'd be honest with you. I just think at the moment for me, Chelsea, I never can make fun of Chelsea. I just can't because they've won trophies in the past. And I know it's a different ownership now, but I just think
away, bro. We can't beat them home or away. So it's crazy. Like the time when we were meant to beat them, we got all those injuries. Do you know what I'm saying? We were dominating at the time, but we didn't get the job done. And it's just certain teams, you just got a voodoo on, like you just got a hicks on, like there's something about them. You just, whatever it is, you just can't beat them. And it's like Chelsea are, some people call it
team, that's the thing.
But it is what it is. When it comes to Chelsea, we just always wet the bed. Like we just can't get it over the line for whatever reason. I don't know why. But that's the reason why I think Chelsea, looking with a new manager, new consistency. And the thing with Chelsea's manager, because I've been talking to Chelsea fans, and obviously, you know, I do a rival show, and I have a Chelsea fan who's not too like over the top. He's not over the top. He's very like measured. In fact, some people call him out, calling him a negative Chelsea fan. He came and he said the one thing he likes about Maresca compared to Ange, right? He didn't say compared to Ange, but the one thing he did like about Maresca is that when things aren't going right, he's humble enough to say, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to swap that. Oh, that didn't work. I'm going to change that. So even though he's got his principles, he's got his philosophies, he tried a different goalkeeper, saw that goalkeeper wasn't working, went back to Sanchez. Even though he started with Sanchez in the first start of the season, he took Sanchez out, went to this new keeper, saw that it wasn't working, went back to Sanchez. Then he tried to invert the fullback. So you've got, I forget the names now, man. You've got
so many players. You forget the players, don't you?
Oh, no, it's annoying. It's on the tip of my tongue. The Spanish defender with the curly hair. I know their name. I know their names, but I don't know why it's just evading me.
You know,
anyway, they got the right back. They got Gusto, yeah. Cucurella, yeah. They got Cucurella, Gusto. Now with Leicester, what Enzo did with his Leicester team, he was inverted a right back. So at the start of the season, he was inverting not even Gusto, he was inverting who's that right back that always gets injured, their captain. My head's gone. I don't know why I can't remember anyone's name. But yeah, anyway, they kept inverting him, yeah. And it wasn't working, innit? It wasn't working. And then they tried to do with Gusto. Gusto wasn't working. And then he went back to what Poch was doing with Cucurella, because Cucurella was inverting under Poch. He made Cucurella invert and become a double pivot in the midfield to add protection. Do you know what I'm saying? So he went back to that, and it worked. And ever since then, it's Cucurella that inverted.
Reece James you're talking about.
Reece James, that's it, Reece James. And I should know because his mum lives up the road, innit? But anyway, so basically, with that, you can see that he might get things wrong, but he learns, innit? And he's not too stubborn to change things. Do you know what I'm saying? The only grace I can give Ange is that he was getting heavily criticized for inverting both fullbacks. And thank goodness he only inverts one. Now he was getting criticized. Well, he wasn't getting criticized, but fans were calling for Kulusevski to not play winger anymore And I know you said he plays it at Parma. He's just doing what he did at Parma.
He's doing well. He's doing well.
No. I hear it, but I'm just saying for Ange's sake, at least Ange took him from the right wing and put him in the midfield.
He listened. He listened to he's taken the idea of putting him in the centre where he has said it's his best position as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And I didn't really see Ange in last season playing with a DM like that. I think now that he's got the 6 or the DM, whatever, he's now incorporating them a lot more closer to the centre backs from what I'm seeing. They're no longer, because before, remember, you used to have Basuma high up. I don't know if you remember, you used to have Basuma super high, the fullbacks were super high. It was even more gun-ho than this. High line was higher. Do you know what I mean? And I have seen him drop the high line a little piece. Do you know what I'm saying?
You know what? The high lines, it's not
even an issue.
It's not an issue for me. It's just the way that we are. It's more the chances that we're missing, and the frustration is that the players. It's the characters of the players that I don't think we've got the right sort of blend of characters. But what you show me today, I see why he's got those certain players in the team, and that's it for me.
Another thing is, high line, we've only conceded against Newcastle from the high line. Yeah, that one mistake that your doggy made, that's the reason why they got in. Do you know what I'm saying? It was your doggy's fault. Let's be honest. Yeah. Why they breached that. It was Romero. Sorry, Romero and Dragusin. The communication was off, and that's how they breached the high line. Sorry, my bad. But that was the only time a team's beat us for the high line. And then set pieces, it's only Arsenal that's got a set piece on us, and they're the best in the league at set pieces.
Yeah, they are.
And they dunked in City. Yeah, I'm saying. So I give him a small. I'm not giving him ultra praise. I'm not going over the top. But I've got to give him some little merit to say, right, he was getting heavily critiqued about set pieces. He was getting heavily critiqued about high line and teams exposing that weakness, and our fullbacks both being inverted. And it seems like he's tweaked those small things. But whether that's going to be enough long term is a different debate altogether.
My argument is that I don't think it's fascinating me at all. That's the thing at the moment. That's the thing. You know, it's not blowing my mind at the moment. That's the only problem.
I think me personally, and I don't think he'll get a cut this season. I don't. Lots of people are like pinning their hopes on winning the FA Cup, a League Cup, or even Europa Cup. You said it before. You said it before about coaches having more tactical nous. We saw it already with Brighton. Do you know what I mean? We
haven't got the composure to do it.
So you're gone.
You haven't got the composure to do it. We ain't got the composure to do it, because the thing is that when things go wrong, we've seen what's happened. What's happened. When things go wrong, you know, because in cup games, you know, not everything's going to go right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Things can turn very, very quickly.
The thing about cup games, and the problem is, you've got home and away legs.
Exactly.
And Spurs' away form has been abysmal. At home, Spurs are fine. Away from home, it seems like we just aren't getting the job done. The only caveat I can say is, performance-wise, for example, St. James's Park, remember when we got spanked 4-1, or wherever it was, wherever the score one was? The one when we got beat 2-1 this season, we looked a lot better. Do you know what I mean? I know they beat us, but I think we could have got a draw out of that. Do you know what I'm saying? So there is an improvement. I'm not going to go teetotal on the away form. We did get the away form in Europa with our last game. So there are some, I can't go teetotal on away form, but the point is, against the better teams in a cup, especially like your League Cup is the one that everyone wants to win because they think it's the shortest route to a cup victory, right? But you still have to do home and away. And against the better teams, we just haven't done it for whatever reason. And away in Europa against better teams, I've got question marks. But to answer this question, because I've gone round in a circle. I think that a good cup run could help and keep a job, because the fans aren't going to turn on him if we get to like a final or a semi-final.
I think the cup runs. I think the cup runs very, very, very important.
It's crucial. It's crucial.
Because I think Poch and Mourinho. I wouldn't say Conte, because Conte didn't do anything really cup-wise, didn't he?
Yeah, he didn't. He got knocked out. Fans are livid for that. That's why they called for his head. Remember AC Milan, Champions League at home. That was terrible. That's when they start singing Pochettino's name. And then he knew that the writing was on the wall, and he blew up against the next game with Southampton. He blew up. He had enough. And he had all sorts of issues internally going on, like mental. But there's a lot going on there. But the point I'm making is a cup run, I think, could save him. If the fans turn, Levy's.
That's why exactly what I've been saying, though. That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, if when it does turn, that's why I can't back it, because you know what happens, don't you? You know what I mean?
I'm hoping I'm wrong. And he gets another seat. He gets another crack in the whip. Do you know what I'm saying? And he gets another. Because I don't think. You know what it is?
Give him?
You know what it is?
Before you carry on, how long are you going to give him? How long are you going to give him? Just to answer the question.
Personally, I'll give him another season. Everyone's Ange out. I hear it. But I don't think we're that far away from having a competitive squad. I think like 3 to 4 quality players. I think if we get 3 to 4 quality players in, and I'm talking about a left back competition for your doggy, because defensively he's not always. He's inconsistent. Like against Salah, he was good last season. Against Saka last season and this season, I thought the doggy was excellent. Do you know what I'm saying? But I just need that consistent form. And he has another left back that's competent, that can carry the ball, that can run with the ball. I don't know if you want to show with me, but I did a transfer watch on Dorgu, he plays in the Italian league, but he's Danish, Danish national, isn't it? He was born. He's registered as a Danish player, isn't it? But that kid has got a similar profile to the doggy, and he could potentially give a doggy a run for money or rest, because he's putting up with all these little niggles here and there. Maybe he just needs to rest because he's still growing into his body. Do you know what I'm saying? He's still young. So I wouldn't mind an upgrade or competition in that area. And I think Dorgu would be good because he's still raw. And where he's still raw, if you get someone that's better than the doggy, are we saying like, let's sell a doggy? Because remember, when we got him from Udinese, there was a lot of teams in for him. AC Milan wanted him, Inter Milan wanted him, Juventus wanted him. But the only reason why he came to Spurs is because of Paratici. Paratici convinced him, if you go to those clubs, you might not get your 90 minutes. At Tottenham, you're going to get 90 minutes. They're going for Champions League. You're going to get put into Italy national side. So trust me, go with Tottenham. Do you know what I'm saying? And Conte was there. That was another reason. That was the main reason why he went. And when Conte left, he got onto the agent. Agent got onto Paratici. Oh, Conte's going. What's going on? Like, what? Why am I here now? Do you know what I'm saying? But Paratici had to, assure him that, no, look, you're going to get.
Well, he's loving it at the moment, isn't he?
Exactly. He is loving it. He's loving London.
But in saying that, he might be loving it. He might be loving it, but still.
Well, the point I'm making is he is a top player. I would want him.
But he needs competition, though.
He needs competition.
Because he should be. He
can't be. And the reason why we're seeing inconsistencies is because he's young. You're gonna get that from young players. Yeah. A lot of people be like, "Nah, doggy's not good enough."
But then people were saying that he was the best left back going last season, though. After 5 minutes.
Exactly. A lot of people are saying because he's been inverted, you're not seeing the best of him. But I just think it's just lapses of concentration again for a doggy. Sometimes when he's passing in possession, he loses it. Sometimes taking risks where you don't need to. And I just think, like, we are playing him a lot wider this season. The last few games, he's playing down the channels a lot more. And I think as he gets more into the season, he will make less mistakes because he's young. He's just learning. He's
young.
He's learning. We forget that he's so big. He looks like a centre back the way he's built. He's so big and tall. Do you know what I'm saying? And he's not bad in the air either. But I think with time, he'll mature. He'll get better. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think, like you said, competition will do no harm. And I think if you take Psycho out the doggy and you put a left back there, I know people are like, give Spence a run there because Spence is playing well as a left-sided centre back, left-sided wing back, full back, whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's a short time. It's been a short time.
I'm not mad if Spence is cover for Porro. I mean, if Spence is there for Porro, do you know what I mean? Certain times when Porro's not there, then you put Jed Spence because you can change the Europa League amount of players you want. You can swap them around in January. Do you know what I mean? So
true.
You can bring Spence in. Do you know what I mean? So
if he's still here,
Yeah, he's still here, man. I think, and he's got enough quality about him. I think on the ball, he's quite good quality, and he gets back. It's not like he doesn't get back. He's not lazy. He does track back.
I think Spence has got to prove himself right now. I think he's just got to just go with it and just do what he needs to do, and that's it. Just doesn't just knuckle down.
He looked all right. Commentary looked all right, but you're right. He needs to prove himself. He needs.
It's like the whole thing right now, isn't it?
He needs to be given a chance. Like I think he should have come on against Brighton. Do you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have been mad if he went on for like take a doggy off, put him on, let him have a run at Brighton. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but coming back to the players, I think like. All right, a left back. All right, cool. What's going to win us games, though? We need desperately Son Air, in my opinion. Someone to say, Son, take a seat for the cookies. You know what I'm saying? And for me, Son was so important to us. Like, I think with Spurs, going back to those Poch days, when we did tire and we started getting fourth and fourth, it's because we were too reliant on Eriksen. We were too reliant on your Kane. Or Son, do you know what I'm saying? Ali had fallen off by then. Do you know what I mean? By the fourth and fourth. And then
you can see what happened there. You explained it perfectly why he fell off because Eriksen wasn't there, wasn't it? Because he was so key.
Then Dembele's knees fell off a cliff. His knees were done. It was finished.
Yeah.
So the player we used to play through, they could break the press. That could be all of a sudden you've got Winks there now, or you've got Sissoko there that can't do what Moussa Dembele is doing. The point I'm making
that connection, isn't it? That vital connection.
The jelly. So the point I'm making is we were relying on individuals too much. I think Son was so valuable to us, and he hardly missed a game. If you think about his tenure at Spurs, if you go for his appearances, he has not missed games, bro. He has not missed games. This is the first season where he's pulled up with maybe an injury. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's had a lot of games. My point is, I think if we lose Son, I think it's like a Kane. You need almost two players. You almost kind of need two players to kind of replace that quality that we're missing if we are to get onto that level. So when I say I need a quality player to replace Son, I mean I need two quality players to replace Son. I think you need
a dribbler
and a right winger.
You need a dribbler.
But it's not just a dribbler. We need goals, bro. Because remember, Son on a bad day, on his worst season, got 11.
Yeah,
on his worst season, got 11, and I can't remember how many assists he got. Do you know what I'm saying? So look, last season he got 17 goals, yeah, and however many assists, I can't remember. 17 goals, yeah, and people were still getting onto Son, 17.
I think it's because at the end of the day he set that bar, hasn't he?
Well, this is it. So I'm looking for a wide man that can dribble, but that can get 17 goals on a bad season.
Well, I think the difference is, I think, with the winger, right? Because look at Luis Diaz, for instance. Yeah, he wasn't the finished article when he came to Liverpool. Yeah, right. But he had the minerals. He had the sort of dribbling ability.
And also Salah's there, so you don't mind him not having quite the minerals there because Salah is picking up a lot of the. Do you know what I'm saying? And then you also
what we're going on, which brings me on to why I said what I said about Alderweireld. Why do you not have someone top, someone established in front of him so he can just develop?
Talking about Alderweireld, they're saying that apparently he might be back earlier than thought, and he might even be around for our next game against West Ham. They're saying also Richarlison and Son are basically on the grass already, and they're looking to feature for West Ham. So we might have Richarlison, Son, and it's a small possibility Alderweireld might be might be ready a lot sooner than possibly first thought. So we might see Alderweireld come back in. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
I agree with you. And that's why I brought up the transfer links with Semenyo, because we are linked to him. And that's the type of player you kind of like. I like him because he's unpredictable.
Well, it looks like he gets me off my seat, because at the moment I don't see the only one that gets me off my seat now is Van der Ven.
I'll tell you, off the seat,
he's a defender.
I'll tell you, get off the seat is Cherki. I showed you him before, yeah. He's a 20-year-old young player. Fulham were so linked with him. They were like really negotiating, trying to get that deal over the line. But he ended up staying at Lyon, and what's it called? The guy's a tricky winger. He's 20 years old, but the skills he's doing is mad. The skills he's doing is mad. He's a crazy baller, and he's got that kind of X factor that you like. Do you know what I mean? And he's someone I think we could get for like a similar fee for what we got Odegaard for, which was around 30 million. But I think he's got a lot more than Odegaard. I know Odegaard, people like him, he's got Premiership experience, blah, blah, blah. But this French kid, like, he plays for the French under-21s as well, with Odegaard, funny enough. But for me, like, his trickery is crazy. So if Spurs wanted to do, I don't know, a player where they wanted to carry on that youngster route, but they wanted a top level player, I think Turkey, I think he looks, yeah, he looks crazy, bro. But yeah, Semenyo for me, yeah, Semenyo, but even Semenyo, goals wise, is he gonna get me 15 plus goals?
But if you can, but like I said before, with these players, they can develop. You see what I'm saying? They've got the minerals to get past players, right? It's just really just ending up trying to get that end product. You see what I'm saying? And if they're young enough, you can grow that. You see what I'm saying? It's just those sort of players can grow into it and start learning how to do that. You see what I'm saying? I know you can say that Adama Traore has got that sort of ability and he's useless in front of goal. But
would you take Adama then?
Huh?
Would you take Adama then?
No, I wouldn't take him. No, WWE wrestler, I called him. But anyway, moving on. I
was gonna say, like, big up Paul. He said Matoma, and Matoma. I remember you criticized him because you said you need to see him in the second season, but obviously you saw him
listen.
Against Tottenham, you're like, actually, you know
what? Listen. Last season he was a bit quiet. Yeah. This season he's gone back to bit more back to the Matoma we saw at the first season.
Take a Matoma.
Oh well, maybe yeah, but I need to see it more consistency. You know what I mean? Big up. You know that's what I say, and that's what I say really. Just to answer the question for me, I would say at the moment I'll stick to what my answer was. My answer is, when this fan base turns on the manager, right? We'll see whether they are really, really together with him, right? That's all I can say because I still have question marks, and I also have question marks on Ange whether he's got the sustainability to stay through the 4 years as well. That's the thing. Does he have the sustainability to do it at the moment? Because after a few years, is he going to sit there and think? This is really going anywhere? You know what I mean? This is why I predict that he's leaving at the end of the season.
You don't get long in football.
In the season.
You don't get long in football, man, because like Poch got to a final in his first season and finished fifth. Exactly. And then he got the third, and then he got second. So it's progression. So it's going to be very hard for Ange in this climate where you've got Chelsea coming, you've got Liverpool, they've got their new manager. So 2 managers with new manager bounces that will help them do well the first part of the season. And when you have a good first part of the season, it's almost like a step up, which allows you to kind of springboard into the business end of the season when you've got like a nice set of points, and it can help you in the run-in for like maybe a top 4 or whatever position you want to finish in that running. So it's going to be hard for him. I honestly think 6th for Ange.
Well, I think realistically, at the moment, good run. It'd be interesting to see if he doesn't get top 4. Would he last? And that's it, because that's the main thing, isn't it? But I think we have to wait and see. But for me, to answer the question, if he doesn't get top 4 and we still stick with him, that will show a lot to me. I saw a lot in that fans forum said to me that they are backing him. They are backing
him. Behind him.
They are definitely behind him. So I mean, I can see that. Whether this is going to be long term, whether he's just a fool guy for other managers, that's another thing as well. You know what I mean? So I think that's another thing as well. So
Porro is also, sorry to cut you, Porro is also being linked to Real Madrid.
I heard that as well earlier today. Yeah, I heard that as well.
Porro, and obviously he's Spanish. So I mean, I can't be mad really at Porro because he's Spanish, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? That's his. Come on, it's gonna be like imagine you're playing in like Germany, but you're from London, innit? And then all of a sudden, your boyhood club that you look up to, or a club that you know is big in England, say, look, we see what you're doing in Germany, but we want
this
you
is
to
why
come and play
people
for
say
us.
when you got to wait patience. This is what I was hearing on some other shows. They're saying we need patience. Or tell that to Poro and Romero when they're getting Real Madrid on the door. By the way, yeah.
Exactly.
Look what happened with Everton when they had Angelotti. Yeah, and Real Madrid came calling. Oh, bye Everton. I've got no time for you right now.
Would you be devastated if Poro left, or do you think he could
Not really.
Yeah. Do you think we could replace a Poro and a Romero? Like if we lost Poro and Romero, we could replace those two players.
Well, the question is that I'm not really that bothered, because the thing is, we've just got to try and find another solution, and that's it. Because I don't get emotionally attached anymore, Ashmatic.
Yeah,
because for me, like, Paul is just another player to me.
Yeah.
Even though I think he can do more, and I think he's one of our best players.
He's got the most shots in it for Spurs. He's our highest shooter.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
From fullback.
Big up to Daniel Coyce for that question, by the way. Another question here from Philly. Big up to you again. Do you think Dragusin has, with his problems in the higher line, is an Ange player? Well, I'm just going to answer this question. If he is not an Ange player, so why did you bloody well buy him in the bloody first place if he's not an Ange player? You know what I mean? When you made a big deal about it, the fan base went over the top about him. You know what I mean? This is not to you, Phil, by the way. Big up to you every single time. But you know what I mean? It's like, for me, he's a very good defender. He reminds me of Sol Campbell. Oh, oops, I should have not said that. But yeah, you know, you know, unfortunately, the truth hurts. You know what I mean? The guy went to win trophies. You know what I mean? And look what we've done, nothing. But anyway, moving on. Mr. Box Office sittings every single time. You know what I mean? Phil P. You know, we talk about AC Milan. Phil P with that rant. Anyway, moving on. Big up to Phil P. Woo! Big up to you every single time. Yeah, for me, he. I don't know if he's. I don't like this term Ange player, this Ange ball, whatever nonsense it is. For me, he's a good defender. He's a good defender for me. I think he should be given more opportunities. I think he's been left out to dry by Ange, even though we made such a big deal about him. Romero's not been playing that great. Why we don't give him any chance, I don't know. I don't know. Yes, he sends him off. Yeah. Yes, he's a bit slow, but I'm not being funny. The best defenders that are slow work out how to get into the right positions to be able to combat not having speed. You see what I'm saying? You had John Terry, like I said, you know, the Italian defenders, some of them weren't that quick, but they were fantastic defenders. You know, Sol Campbell, again, I know people are going to suffer me saying it, but he was a fantastic defender. Tony Adams, I think Martin Keown. You know,
well, if you look at Ange, if you look at Ange Postecoglou's Celtic, he didn't have a quick centre back. He had
he had the old play, didn't he? He had
Carter Vickers.
Carter Vickers, didn't he?
Yeah, Carter Vickers in as a centre back. So it just goes to show, like, you don't. And look, Unai Emery, he plays a high line. I remember when he was doing the high line against us, and Richarlison and Son kept getting caught offside. I was like, "Fuck's sake, man!" But like, you don't need fast centre backs to play a higher line. You just need a disciplined back four that know when to move together to catch teams offside. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
the whole point of bloody doing the high line, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. The point is that you defend higher up. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a reverse low block. You could put it like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's the point.
We defend in their box, making them low block. Do you know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. And our first line of defense will be the attackers, and then the centre backs are squeezing the pitch, and then we're meant to turn that ball over or win it back in midfield. So then we closer to their goal, and then we got an attempt. That's how we scored a lot of our goals, because we're forcing errors making them do throw-ons like when they don't want to, making them go long, and when they go long, we recover possession, and then we go again. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
I think Dragusin he's having to adjust. Don't get it wrong. He's having to adjust because in this system, he's used to playing in Italy, where he was in a slower league. They weren't playing the high line, and he was in the back three. So he's having to learn how to play in a back two in a more aggressive Premier League that's fast paced, up and down. Do you know what I'm saying? He's having to learn how to run a lot more. So a lot more physical league. He's not getting dominated physically, and he's not getting outran, but he's just now having to learn the system and learn as well and create relationships with his centre back pairings. Do you know what I mean? Once he gets used to what like a Romero like stepping up, and maybe he needs to step with him, then like less mistakes in that situation. I know it was in the Coventry game he played, didn't he?
Yeah.
With Ben Davies. So again, it's a different partner he's playing with, and he's having to adjust.
It's getting used to it as well, and sometimes it's just about that connection, isn't it? I remember what is it? Manchester United defender, Rio Ferdinand and Vidic, and it just sometimes it just clicks. It sometimes just clicks. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just clicks with certain players, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's young as well. He's young. He's a young kid. And he looks old. He looks like a big brother. Again, he needs time to develop himself. He needs to learn defensively how to mature.
It's just excuses. This high line thing. I think it's definitely excuses. I think for me, but I think he's a very good defender. I think he can handle the high line. I think it's just down to his defenders not really helping him out as well, being a team player. And that's it for me.
Daniel Hwang said about Leverkusen, Tabsoba would have been perfect pairing alongside Mickey van der Ven, and I kind of agree, because with Tabsoba, I like the way he I was talking about a player that can go into midfield.
Yeah,
and really good on the ball, can dominate it.
Yeah,
similar to what Romero is. I think Tapsoba alongside Mickey van der Ven could definitely work. I think a better signing for us at this moment would be a Hincapi, because Hincapi can play centre back, but he can also play left back, or he plays as a wing back in that Leverkusen. So he's mad aggressive, brilliant competition for both Van der Ven and Udogie. Because
if John Stones can play that midfield role and go from defence to midfield, I don't see why a Romero can't do that. You see what I'm saying?
He does do it though. He does do it. Watch it. Because the next time you're watching Spurs, just watch Romero. I know it's hard because you're watching the whole game, but sometimes it's good just to watch a single player in that position and see how they move. Do you know what I mean? And you'll pick up, actually, like, even when I know you hate the stats. I know you hate the stats. And I breeze past them when I do my breakdowns. But there's a reason why I bring them up. And even though it's a little bit, I always want to show people that time after time, Romero does the most ball carries, and he's our most progressive passer. And I always put it in the start of my intro. I don't know if it goes over people's heads, or if I need to hold it there for longer or make more of a note of it. But the last couple games, as bad as Romero's been defensively or lapses of concentration, he is our most progressive passer, and he's our best ball carrier. And I'm not Romero's number one stan. You get me? I'm not his number one fan. But if I'm seeing it with my eyes and I'm seeing it with the numbers, I'm gonna mention it. That's
you got a point there.
I'm gonna mention it. If he's got lapses of concentration, he needs to improve on that. He needs to pick up. But you don't become a bad player overnight. You don't. So all this rhetoric that Romero, he's lost it. He wants to go Real Madrid all of a sudden. If he wants to go Real Madrid, he needs to start playing better. That logic doesn't even make sense to me.
You're saying that they're more impressed with Saliba, isn't it? Let's just say
they're more impressed with Saliba anyway. So if he wants that Real Madrid move, he's going to have to get that together. And the next 6 to 8 games, he needs to be solid. to prove that he needs that Real Madrid move. Otherwise, he's going to stay at Spurs. Do you know what I mean?
But I see someone in the chat. Thank you for your comments, by the way. Big up to everybody,
big up
everybody in the chat. Appreciate everybody. If you can subscribe as well, big up to you. Big up to some people that have just joined as well. Big up to Paul Paolo. Big up to you. Big up to Soul Boy. Big up to you. Thank you for the appreciation. Big up to you, Wayne Holland. Big up to you. Hope you're doing well, mate. Big up to you. Big up to Daniel Huang. Big up to you. I really want to go to this comment about Lewis Vukic.
Yeah.
They're making a big deal about this guy, a massive deal about this guy at the moment. He's one of the reasons why, and also Phillips, which I'm a bit confused about because he's gone on loan, leaving us short at the back, if I'm really honest with you. What do you think about him right now? That the fact that we're waiting to give time for him to develop for him for next season, but we're left short with, if Van der Ven gets injured, or any of our defenders get injured, we're going back to Ben Davis.
It's the sacrifice.
But Ben Davis.
Do you do what we do with Archie Gray and then have him on the bench, or do you let him develop at another club? Like you saying, like you prefer the players to be on loan. You would have preferred if Archie Gray was out on loan. Do you know what I'm saying? You prefer Bergvall was out on loan, developing, getting minutes, understanding what it is to be in the league competitively rather than just watching from the sidelines and not, you know what I'm saying, getting blooded in a little bit slower in the cups. The Europa Cups is where they're getting their 90 minutes, of course.
Exactly.
It's still once a week, don't get me wrong, but you kind of want them to impact the Premier League where we need options coming off the bench.
Well, that's my argument for Archie Gray and thing, isn't it?
Thing is, I know that's your point, but at the same time, you need to think. You said that you'd rather them be in the Championship, or you said that you'd rather have them develop somewhere else. So you've got to give that same energy to the centre back, because let's face it, if he was here, he'd probably be on the bench. I would only probably using him for the Europa Cup. Do you know what I'm saying? How much would he develop against how he's developing now? He's playing against grown-ass men week in, week out, and he's bossing them, apparently. Well, not apparently, I've seen it, to be fair. I have seen
he's good plaudits, isn't he?
Yeah, I have seen a few bits where he's running into the midfield and he's actually good on the ball. When I first looked at him, my honest opinion was, this kid's too big. And when I say too big, pause. But no. It's weird because, like, I find that when you're a centre back and you're mad tall, your ability to cover ground horizontally, vertically, turning, you're not as mobile as someone that's, I say, normal size, but your average 6'1", 6'2" defender. Look at Dan Burn. Dan Burn is a giant. Do you know what I'm saying? Mertesacker was a giant. Those guys, they got long limbs, long-legged frames. I found them very, not clumsy, but clunky. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I've seen with him so far, because I thought, he's mad tall already. If he grows any more, is he going to be like a ogre? Like, is he going to be like clumsy across the pitch? Is he going to be? But what I've seen of him so far on the ball, I'm impressed. On the ball, he can get. He's a ball playing, as you say, a ball playing centre back. I know it's in fashion at the moment, but he's very comfortable in possession to the point that he's able to do what Mickey Van der Ven does in the midfield and run out players, or even look after it. Not even just like do a mazy run. He's actually getting the ball. And I was playing football tonight, and I was getting frustrated when I'm playing with my boys, because sometimes you pass, sometimes you got the ball and nothing's on, innit?
Yeah.
When nothing's on, I want you to take a risk, either carry that ball and make things happen yourself, or even if a man is on a player, if a man's on one of your colleagues, pass it to him anyway, and then run beyond him, pass and move, because then you create space because that player hasn't picked you up.
Well, that's what was so effective. What we've been asking for Tottenham, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I can understand it from your point of view there.
This kid,
Awesome
I've
move.
seen him do that. I've seen him get that ball, pick it up, do you know what I'm saying, from deep, carry the ball, pass it into the midfielders, carriers run on, and finish it. Boom, like he's a midfielder. Boom. You know, like how Mickey Van der Ven striking the ball. You can see the kid can strike the ball properly.
Key thing that Postecoglou likes, isn't it?
Right then, because and I mentioned it the other night, and I said, listen, I think, and this is what I like about Hincapi as well, and other centre backs, that it's becoming almost a new tactic to catch teams off guard when you've got your Califioris, when you've got your Bastonis, when you've got certain backs like Hincapi or you've got Van der Vens, where you can utilize them deeper on the pitch and they start the attacks. Oh my days, no one's picking them up. Oh my days. Now how do we defend it against that? All of a sudden, remember I showed you on the tactics board, you had Rutter and Welbeck, they're pressing Mickey Van der Ven and Romero. That's the reason why they split so wide. The reason why they split so wide is because that forces the two strikers to go ultra wide.
Yeah.
Then there's more space in the midfield, and Bentacle could drop in.
To be fair, Ashmatic, from your point there, from that point, when we're building up from the centre backs to the midfield, that's okay.
Yeah.
The problem I have is the attack, but you carry on.
No, I hear that. With the attack, again, it's just that relationship that they need to have when teams do drop like Arsenal did in the low block. The triangle is key because I said Werner doesn't have the relationship with Maddison and Son. Sorry, Werner doesn't have the same relationship. Werner doesn't have a relationship with Maddison and Udogie. Son's got a relationship with Maddison and Udogie. So when Son drops into the midfield and he goes from out to in to where Maddison is, Maddison knew to pull wide in the left mid. And then Udogie knew to play as the left winger. Does that make sense? And then the Udogie would pull into the midfield where Son is, and then Son sometimes would pull on the wing, and then Maddison would be the furthest back playing as a fullback. Because like people are like, why is Maddison playing as the sixth for? He's not even playing as a sixth. Sometimes he's playing as like a fullback because he's having that triangle. He's having that dynamic where the passing lane is into Son. And then sometimes what we didn't do well with Brighton in that second half was when Kulusevski would pull over and make it a diamond and it's four men. Because then and when it's four men, you're pulling that team across. When you pull that team across, space opens up, boom, boom, boom. It's like he's there, drops in, turns, and then drops in on a run, boom, boom, unpredictable.
Through to someone.
They match that. And that's the type of ball I like, and I get passionate about. I'm like, look, that's football for me. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a typical, look, we run down the side and crossed it and tapped it in because everyone hates that ball because it's predictable, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It's a goal. Goal's a goal. But I look up the phase before that, and the phase before that is because we built up quickly. And as I said, if you've got the two centre backs pulling wide, once they pull wide and the Doggy drops into the midfield and then Maddison pulls wide, then you see the triangle between Van der Ven, the Doggy, and Maddison. Do you get what I'm saying? And then also Kulu sometimes he drops in the next to Bentancur. So you've got a midfield three.
And that's why Maddison is going more, because you saw Maddison going into the box more, which is where you want him to be because he's more dangerous.
Exactly. So what sometimes would happen is Maddison would run from deep and he would become the focal point when Solanke dropped in. So then Maddison would be the false nine and he would arrive. And sometimes it'd be Kulu. If you look at the average positions, Kulu was our highest position player.
Yeah.
He was our highest position player. He's doing the false nine. He's making runs late. And the difference between the Maddison and the Kulu is that Kulu is a ball carrier. Maddison's a person that likes to pass around the corner, cheeky flick. Do you know what I'm saying? Drop a shoulder, then find your player. Make a little 1-2 wall pass where it bounces back. Then he takes a shot or he does a little reverse pass or diagonal pass into the box, or sometimes he runs into the byline. But I was saying, like, it's a different. If this kid here, I saw that type of tactic where, like, we've got another form of attack. Centre backs breaking lines. Oh my days. Centre backs on the half turn. Do you know what I mean? I know it sounds mad. I know it sounds risky, but Inzaghi he's the coach that is doing it, and he's mashing up Serie A because of it. He's taken over, and loads of like teams. Oh, I want to get Inzaghi. I want to get Inzaghi for those nuances, those little small details. Remember, the detail The devil was in the details.
It's very important now.
It's very important now.
It's very important now,
Because
especially with
teams
the
are figuring
system.
out. You got to figure out a new way, like you said.
Yeah,
It's
it's so intricate now. It's so intricate now. It's so important now because of the system now. Because it's not on the players now, it's more on the system. Those little details are so important because it can give you that advantage, isn't it? That's the thing, isn't it?
Back in the day, we used to focus on the individual.
Exactly.
And the individual will give you clutch moments. Some of the kids say clutches where you get.
That's why you're getting tight games, isn't it? That's why you're getting tight games, and it's like it's either
the coaches are now figuring out.
Whoever blinks now and blinks first. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It's like that. That's just, you saw that against Arsenal, Man City, isn't it?
It's why England lost today against Greece. Yeah, England are a higher ranked team than Greece, but how did Greece get the win? Because their coach knew that we ain't got the individuals that England have. So what am I going to do? I'm going to be really rigid and difficult, and I'm going to be narrow. I'm going to make all those midfielders that look fancy. You got your Foden, you got your Palmer, you got your Bellingham, you got your Saka. You know what I'm saying? Players that want it to feed, players that can play intricate football. I'm just going to keep it super tight. I'm going to make a nice midfield block. I'm going to keep it nice and low. I'm going to keep it near to the area, and I'm going to suffocate. They can have the ball all they want, but they're not going to be able to do anything with it. Do you know what I'm saying? And that goes back to the previous comment, the earlier comment. And then what did they do? Counter. You know what I'm saying? Counter. Yeah, boom. And they scored 2 offside goals, but the game ended up 2-1. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's down to the coach, down to the system. And so, like, I always look at, is it about the individual or the individuals, or is it about the collective? And I think that's why certain men are so bang on. It's about the system. Trust me, the system, because teams are figuring out ways to stop individuals. Do you know what I'm saying? We had the best team. Why didn't England win? Palmer, best team in the best player in the Premier League at the moment. You got Foden, last season's best player, Premier League player of the season, with different internationals. 2 English players. Do you know what I'm saying? And we couldn't break them down. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we obviously we tinkered with the system. We tried to not have strikers, but they brought strikers on eventually with Watkins and Solanke, and they still couldn't break them down. We just got 1 goal and that was it from Bellingham. So the point I'm going back to is sometimes I think, yes, individuals can improve and make that system work better, but the system for me can help you win the games if you have good patterns of play. Like I was saying, the little triangles are forming, diamonds are forming. If it's not diamonds, and we're moving teams from one side to the other. We're playing through teams, because before, they're just going to block the middle because we invert both fullbacks. Oh, guess what? We're not inverting both fullbacks now. We're playing both of our fullbacks a bit wider. Do you know what I mean? We're playing a bit more vertically now. Sometimes we play a bit more horizontally. When I say horizontally versus vertically, horizontally, Bentancur might move 2 steps to the left. Because he's moved 2 steps to the left, he can join and link with Maddison. Or if he steps 2 steps to the right, he can link with Kulusevski and Porro and Johnson. Do you understand? And then he's keeping it simple. And when you're playing football, you need to punch the ball. You know, like you hear that, like, when you play in football and you punch the ball with your foot, it makes a certain sound. And when you punch that ball with pace, that player can't get to it. You can't. Yeah, I'm saying, no matter how low that block is, if you hit that, sting that ball, it's like I play against it. I play as a 6 sometimes, and I find it hard as a lone 6 when I've got a striker peeling off the 2 centre backs and linking up with a winger or a wide player. Then I'm like, do I go to the striker or do I go to the winger? And then when he punches with pace, and then the striker takes it on a half turn, and I've caught him between 2 men. I'm like, what do I do? All of a sudden, I'm running back because the striker's got in behind, and then like centre backs are like backing off. And so it's these little things there where they got to work on these patterns of play in the training ground, and they need to get spot on. I do like Maddison as an 8/10, and I do like Kulusevski as an 8/10, but it's just defensively, when we lose the ball, they need to be
a strategy.
They need to be resolute, where they need their wingers to help them out in those transitions. They need their wingers to contribute and help the fullbacks. Do you know what I'm saying? They need to tuck in and become narrow, like I was talking about Greece, narrow. They're being like compact and win it. So I don't know if we will, like, because for what I saw, even though we were losing games, Alex, even though we were losing games, I was still behind the performance. However, and this is my caveat, and Ange said it to me. This is one thing I remember I was doing a watch along.
Yeah.
And we lost. I did that watch along for Aston Villa at home and West Ham at home, right?
Yeah.
And we lost both of those games. And I was impressed by the way we played, by the way. I was like, this.
Well, I said it as well. You talk about last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year. I said this is great football, but we lost both games.
It was 2022. No, 2023. 2023.
Yeah, last season. Yeah. So basically, I was impressed with football, but I watched Ange's post-match presser he did on the pitch. I think it was on TNT or BT Sport at the time. And he came out and said, yes, we dominated the ball. Yes, we had a lot of ball. But I'm not here to entertain people. It's not a circus. I'm not here to be a circus, bro. And I was like, that's when it hit me. And I was like, whoa. He's not impressed by all this fancy. He wants to win. He said it doesn't matter if we have all the ball. It doesn't matter if we look good.
Why do you think I called him the attacking style, attacking the other? Well, an alternative to attacking style to Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, guys, we'll be ending the show. We'll be closing the show soon because I know Ashmatic's got
I'll go wake up early, bro.
They're working early tomorrow, and Mr. Bots Office has got to go back to his day job, or Alex has got to his day job. So we are going to be closing the show so soon, guys. So big up to everybody in the chat. Big up to everybody. Big up to Ashmatic for coming on, your first guest on Mr. Bots Office TV. Take that pleasure. Take that and run with it. You know what I mean? Like I said every single time. This will happen again. Because rather than us having phone calls now, I think we're just going to do it on stream now, don't you think? I think it's because big up to everybody in the chat because it's getting a bit late now. I think we're all getting a bit tired. You've been playing football, and you know,
I know it's late now.
Do you actually lose? Do you win or today? Do you win?
No, we drew 6-6, man. It was mad. It was like we were winning. It felt like a loss because I actually thought we won because we scored last minute. Bang! I was happy, like gas.
Doing Fergie time, bro.
Fergie time. Then obviously, like my goalkeeper was like, oh, like we were like, yeah, we won. They were like, no, it was a draw. So it was a little back and forth arguing. And then my brother on my team, the goalkeeper, was like, no, it was a draw. And I was like, Then I felt like we lost. I felt like the draw felt like a loss. And then the centre-back I was playing with, even though I was playing in midfield, he said, yeah, it was a draw as well. So I was gutted. I wasn't happy. I was gutted. I want to win. I'm a winner. I don't do this drawing thing. So I was pissed, bro. I'm going to lie. And like, I was all right with my performance. You know what I'm saying? I was all right. I was happy with my performance. But I come to win, bro. I didn't come competitive. You know what I'm saying? When I'm on the pitch, I want to do the thing. But
so that's to Daniel Levy. But anyway, moving on. That's a touchy subject, isn't it? Like they're saying it. You know what I mean?
We know what.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, bro. Thank you for coming on. You're gonna have the pleasure of listening to the outro. The outro that I come with because on the day that people called me out and said that I was deluded for saying Højbjerg was back, it shouldn't be back in my midfield. Maybe by what you just said today, I can see what you're talking about. But at the same time, I still with Højbjerg back in my midfield, even knowing that's it.
He plays in the free though. Sometimes I understand the Højbjerg thing because Højbjerg can drop in between the two centre backs and become a halfback at times.
Maybe even have the Argentinian Tom Carroll, aka Lo Celso, as well. Maybe.
And his passing is good. His range of passing. Sometimes he's cut out a dribbling, and he's passing from deep. Was spot on. So sometimes he would speed the tempo up with his passing. So it's just that he's not risk averse. That's all. On the half turn, his half turn is non-existent. He doesn't scan. He's not that
type of player, isn't he?
He's not that type of player. He's not. And I understand what Ange wants. You need in a possession side, you need technical players, in my opinion. Players that can get on the ball, that are brave on the ball as well. Don't shy away from things. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But I do like Højbjerg's mentality.
His mentality is very good.
I understand why you like him. But anyway, show's done.
Big up to you, Ashmatic. Big up to you, like I've said every single time. Big up to you. And big up to Phil. Phil, I'm sorry I haven't got to your question. It's been a brilliant show. With Ashmatic, we've got a lot to talk about. We talk so long because this is what we do on the phone. So we will get to your question. If you when we do this again, we will do it again. We are going to do it again. Don't worry about this. Ashmatic's coming on again. Right, because we rather than do this on the phone, we're just going to talk. We're just going to do the chat. We're just going to chat on stream. That's what we're going to do. So we'll just keep those questions in mind, and we'll get to those questions again. That was just getting a little bit late, and we're just getting a bit tired. Even you can see the Smack is flagging at the moment. He needs to go sleep. He needs to go sleep. And that's not a dig. It's just that he has to go sleep. Big up to him. But big up to you, Phil. Big up to everybody in the chat that's watching today. Big up to everybody. Big up to my boy. Big up to my boy, Perchy. Big up to you, bro. Big up to you, yeah? Are you enjoying you being online to Espanol?
Perchy. I wish Perchy, bro, Perchy, I wish you would come back on, bro. I know you're not going to come on, but if you do decide to come on, holler at me. Holler at me, Perchy, please. I need some.
You're protected, bro. You've got the Spurs Kings TV, bruv. You've got the Spurs TV crew, bruv.
I need a Perchy.
Look at that face. Look at that face. Look at that face, bro.
I need you. Amari, I'm going to get you on soon. Don't you watch
Look at that face, bro. Look at that face.
Tired face.
Look at that face, bro. Can you say that you're gonna say no to that face? As a saying that
Percy's done a lot for man. I don't forget people that do things for man store.
Exactly. Big up to you, bro. Big up to everybody in the chat, by the way. Big up to everybody in the chat supporting. Keep subscribing, and keep the notifications on. And that's it. And there's always the main event, the Mr. Box Office in the main event, the Professor of Truth and Entertainment, the ratings killer, the badass of YouTube says, if you don't know, get to know. You know how it goes every single time, the outro, and that's it. If you didn't know, get to know. Support your boy, Mr. Box Office, subscribe and like, and come on, you Spurs. And you know how it goes, mate, don't you? We're out of here. Big up. Take care. Bye-bye.
Love.